Inside at last.
Welcome, fellow Teffers, to Inside at Last, the one and only thief-dedicated podcast. My name is Alex, and as usually, I'm joined by Nex. Hello.
Hi.
And Psychosis. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm fine. And today we have a special guest. This time in a totally different role. Last time he has been here, he was my support on the Stephen Russell episode, at least for like 20 minutes. And today he's here as a guest because he is the initiator of the thing we want to talk about today, the 1 million units contest, Brethren. Welcome back to the show, and thanks for joining us. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, before we start, of course, you have to go through our initiation process of every guest. So, first things first, please tell us a bit about yourself, where you are located, maybe what you're doing in your work or free time, and yeah, maybe then you can tell us how you stumbled upon Thief and why do you.
Oh, still there? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay. Kind of cut out there. I'm Brethren. My real name is Mike. I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. For work, I do skilled trades recruiting. As far as Thief goes, we talked about this earlier in the week, and you asked me this, but I'm an old guy, so I don't really remember how I got started on Thief. I hope that's not too terrible of an answer.
It's okay, amnesia.
Yeah, there's a couple
But
of
you've
us
been
boomers
around
out
for
there.
a long time in the Thief community, is what you're trying to say?
Yeah, actually, I looked at my join date on TTLG the other day, and it was like April of 2000.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty scary. That was like 2 months after Thief 2 came out, I believe.
Yeah, and in 2 months, it's 21 years for you in the forums.
Scary.
Wow.
Yep.
So you're a legend.
Let's not get carried away.
A real OT.
Yeah.
Original Thief.
Yeah, but you can tell us why you love the game still. I think you remember that, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is, I was into all the shooters back then, like most people were, Quake and Doom and all that stuff. But Thief came out, it was just so different. It had this really unique atmosphere and, play style, just so different. You're just not killing people. You're sneaking around, and it kind of stuck out. So kind of latched onto it right away. And actually, I don't really play many shooting games anymore, so I've kind of moved on to that kind of style for good, I think.
Yeah, it's that indestructible gameplay of Thief, I think. It's like you always come back to that. As we do. And that's why we still have a very active community and still contests. And yeah, today we want to talk about the 1 million units contest. And since you are the initiator of the whole thing, maybe we can talk about what was your inspiration. But first of all, I want to talk or tell that story when you came up to me. It must have been in autumn of the last year, or what do you say, fall? And you were like, hey, what do I think about a contest, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what? This early? People still need to digest the last Thief 2 anniversary contest. This would be too early. And I was totally wrong about it. Because actually we got pretty many participants. And
9, I think, yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I think 9 is not a bad number. And yeah, Mike, what was your inspiration? How did you come up with that? Or did you come up with that with other people and you just created it on the forums? How was the process?
I don't really remember exactly what the impetus was, but I mean, I've done several contests over the years, and I don't know, I just felt like it was a good time for one, and I definitely wanted to do something small because I know people had just gone through some bigger missions in the last 2 anniversary contests.
So
Right.
I wonder if we should talk about this at the beginning now or maybe at the end about limited contest rules. But what do you guys think?
Well, I think it's a good discussion for now because it's in case people don't know. By 1 million units, like that's like that's sort of a measurement in the game engine. So all the missions fit in a 100 by 100 by 100 cube, or similar math-sized cube or rectangle. And the thing is, I personally like missions like this because you could sit down and I think we said this like with a couple of the Thief 2 anniversary contest submissions last time, that they're just like a good like Sunday afternoon type experience where you could just sit down and just play Thief for like 30 to 40 minutes in your free time. Because the last contest had some juggernauts, which could last like hours.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And like not that I don't like those, but like sometimes I just don't have the time to sit like a couple hours out of my day, like loading, reloading every time I mess up, which is a lot. You know.
I totally agree with you there, but when you have a contest like that, then you suddenly have, like a bunch of like Sunday afternoon missions. And then it's like, there have been some great entries, I would say, and we will discuss them individually. But, for me, it's always like, first of all, Thief is a game with, that's about big missions and, very immersive stories and stuff like that. And of course, I can totally see where the thrill comes from, when you have suddenly a very limited thing and to see what people are capable of, doing with that within that rule set. But I don't like the so much the contest on the technical limitation, where it's just like the 64 cube, or was it just 7 rooms or something like that. I like it when it's like in the anniversary contest, where you're like, okay, just take original stock, and then you get impressive results also by seeing what people are able to come up with, especially when you look at Builder's Paradise or Scarlet Cascable, how they reuse already existing models and textures and stuff like that. But those limitations is sometimes like, it's a bunch of average missions, but they can't be more than average, and mostly because the limitations are there. You know what I mean?
I agree with you in a way, but to me it felt like enforcing that they should only use stock resources. I mean, they can reuse them, but they're limited in regards of resources. I felt like this size limitation was more tricky, and it felt like it was. I felt it was better just because almost the resource limitation almost felt like it's needless, right? But yeah, I guess it's because it's an anniversary. Sure, you want to make missions that feel like Thief 2 or feel like Thief 1. In the end, it felt like most of the Thief Gold missions were pretty much it felt like you were playing Thief 2.
Oh, I like Into the Art. That totally felt like playing Thief 2.
Like Scarlet Cascabel. That if you didn't really notice, you could easily say this is a Thief 2 mission.
In my head, actually, it exists as a Thief 2 mission. But But Brethren, what is your opinion on the whole limited contest idea? So I think you kind of like it because you came up with it.
You're talking about the size restriction, that part?
It depends. There have been many contests over the years that have like very limited rules within the engine. Like this 1 million units, or like 64 cubed, or 48 hours, and of course everything has a very interesting aspect, and of course it's interesting to see what the authors come up with, within that limitation. But do you like? How do you? What is your opinion on that? Well, I definitely effed that up.
Well, I'd say anybody who's dramated before knows that feature creep is a huge problem. So I think you have to reel people in once in a while, especially with size. that's kind of how Comag used to do it in his old contests, and worked pretty well. But yeah, I mean, if you just let people do whatever they want to do, people just get carried away and they don't finish in time.
Yeah, I agree.
And of course, I can see that. Of course, a contest needs a theme, and it wouldn't be great if you just say, "Hey, this time a city contest, next time a horror contest, and do whatever you want." I can see that, but yeah, I don't know. It's just the bunch of missions that come out at once, and then it's like average missions, For me, at least, it feels like that.
Well, I'd say that at least this bunch of missions that we had, actually any of the previous 3 contests, there were average missions. They're bound to be there, but I think we had some outstanding missions. I mean, in this one, perhaps we're all expecting missions of size, of OM missions, which I'd say, it's a little bit more than 30-minute missions. But considering that the size was limited, some are, I would say, outstanding.
Right. I think me and you, Supremacy, touched on this earlier, where these types of contests are more for the actual people building the missions than really it turns out to be like enjoyable for people playing them, because it's always like fun to test yourself, like, can I build something competent and enjoyable, which I think almost all of these achieve to some extent, or maybe all of them actually. But can I achieve this with the very strict limitations? Like I would say this is a more strict limitations than just using stock resources, right? Because those were used for a long time before people started adding in more like custom objects and textures and stuff. But size is always something that you can never really you can't cheat that system. It's just it's size, and so it's definitely more fun to work within that restriction. So yeah, maybe the missions won't be like we'll get into it later. Most of the missions won't be like, wow, I'm gonna remember this for years to come, except one, and we'll get into that later. Oh yes,
Yeah,
we
and of
will.
course, and it starts with
An A. But but me as like a drawmeter myself as well, like I look at some of these missions, I'm just like, wow, like it's like eye candy for if you draw meta as well, because it's like, how did they do this? Like, because like Mike said, whenever you start working with the engine yourself, it's always like, oh, but you know what? Another street here would be pretty cool, or another wing of this hotel or mansion or whatever. And then like next thing you're getting portalization errors or hitting limits, and then you have to start cutting stuff. And so these types of missions are just really cool.
And it's very easy, like you said, as an author to just overdo it.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just never comes out. And essentially, when you're making it, like you said, oh, another street here would be nice. But then even for the consumer, you're getting these missions where it's impossible to complete within 6 hours. And when you can't complete a mission for 6 hours, you're sure to break the immersion, and it seems like work at the end. And it feels like I would definitely love to see, perhaps 4 or 8 times the size that we had now, just to limit the artists to a certain size, a bit for their help, just so they don't really overdo because they want to, and again for the players, because you ensure that the mission, it's not going to be a 2-3 day mission.
And I can give it, as I said, of course I see, what's the charm about it, to see the different authors and how they deal with the limitation. And of course, those contests are faster to do. And of course, they are, I think, a very essential part of what kept the community alive. I will give it that. And yeah, it was just, I thought the topic is very interesting to talk about, because I think there are very mixed opinions on limited contests. And yeah, so your comment on the chat confused me. But if you're cool, I would like to start with the missions. Like in the last contest review we did, we went through them by the alphabet. And yeah, so should we start with the missions?
Yeah, sure.
Oof. Start with the alphabet. It's going to be a lot
Yeah,
of talk. Yeah.
I know. But I think it was last time. It was also one of the highlights was pretty early. Now, yeah, we have another highlight. I think so. It's Midsummer Night's Heist by Anonymous. And yeah, guys, tell us your ratings. Maybe we start with you next.
I mean, this one was my favorite. I gave it a top score just because I was scoring on a curve. But I really enjoyed this one. I think it was very well done.
So it was 10, 10, 10 from your best use of space, 10, design and construction, 10, and atmosphere and story, 10. And
10's all the way.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, I say that. Spoiler alert for everybody. This episode is released after the poll, but still spoiler alert if you haven't played them. So yeah, 10 out of 10 in everything. So 30 out of 30. And Mike, what was your score on that? You just gave overall scores, right?
I've got some breakdown a little bit. I was trying to do that this morning as far as categories go. So I got 26 total. Mine's a 9, 10, 7.
Okay.
So 9 in space, 10 in design, and 7 in atmosphere.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Okay. And why? Like, why would you give it those specific? Like, why would you hinder atmosphere and story a little bit?
So
can we go through that later? Let's just talk.
Oh, we're just
our
listing
points,
numbers.
and then
Okay.
we discuss this.
Sorry, just
That's
getting
okay.
ahead of myself.
We're still starting. We're new to this podcast thing. So, Stackhouse, please go on with yours.
So mine's actually pretty similar. Mine is I gave best use of space an 8 out of 10. I gave design and construction a 9 out of 10, and then I gave atmosphere and story a 7 out of 10. So overall, 24 out of 30.
Oh, lowest till now. How about you, Alex?
Yeah, lowest. I gave it space 7, design construction 8, and atmosphere story 6. So it's 21 out of 30.
Ouch.
Yeah, I knew. You will say that with almost every entry, but I think it's the way of how you receive. What is your thought on the rating system? And how do you put it in your head? And it's one of my higher rated missions. Let's say that. So I really liked it. It's one of the missions that stood out for me. It's one of the missions I remembered even after not replaying it. Yeah, I think it's a very basic mission. It's
very safe.
It's a mansion.
Very safe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of. I think I would compare it to the Builder's Paradise. In what it does in general. Builder's Paradise was a sweet city mission. It was safe on that. Of course, it was amazing what it was doing. And Midsummer Night's Heist is also very safe, as you said. Like it's a basic mansion mission, but it has a lot of cool things in it. It has one of the most beautiful sewers I have seen in a long time, I would say. I really like that part. And I like the upper floors, the secret passages that were very essential to the gameplay. And yeah, it was a cool little mission. That's really one of the Sunday afternoons mission. Now, what are your feelings about that mission?
Right. So yeah, I docked a lot from the atmosphere and story because I don't really remember much of like the overall arcing like narrative of the mission.
It's a lot about Yeah, yeah.
I remember
Intrigues
you're
about
in Bone,
money and yeah,
and you want to steal this guy's scepter because you're hired to, or not scepter, some jewel, I think,
yep.
necklace. And I did like the little, maybe I'll actually up the story here to an 8, but I did like the little narrative, like that the mechanists are kind of not welcome in Bone, and like he's
Yeah.
getting like sort of very, very threatening letters and very condescending letters from like people within Bone, like telling him to tell that mechanist to get out. Um, because I guess over there, I forget the reason. Maybe it's just like religion is not really, or any sort of like religious type thing is not really welcome there.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
No, Hemorrhoids were welcome, I think.
I don't think anything religion based was frowned upon.
Okay, maybe.
Yeah, and then so maybe I'll up that to an 8 because that is like a neat little narrative, and it definitely serves the mission. Um, Design and construction, I think it's probably one of the most cleanest built in the contest. Like it's very like again, this is me as a dramatter. Like the brushwork and stuff is very clean and very.
You muted yourself. Yeah. Maybe you, Brethren, you can go on.
Do we lose him there? What's going on?
No, it's okay.
No. I'm sorry. My
Okay,
my dog came in the room. I had to shoo her out.
that happens.
Knock her out.
Otherwise, she would start barking. But yeah, the design and construction very clean, very just beautifully built. Like some of the foyer with the big rounded room with the, like you said, with the ceiling area where you climb along the rafters and stuff is gorgeous. And it's definitely awesome to kind of gawk at. But I had to deck a couple points from the use of space because there's a lot of like empty areas. I feel like some of the buildings along the outside and stuff, could have definitely been fleshed out a little bit. When you kind of look at the mission in terms of like the cells used and stuff, again, draw med terms and stuff, it's very light. So I definitely think it could have been expanded a little bit more because like most of these missions, it ended in about like 35-40 minutes for me. And when the mission feels that quick, I have to deck a couple points from use of space.
So
So
now,
that's
Mike.
that was all me.
Me next.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I know. I agree with a lot of what Psychosis said. I thought the mission was great. It had tons of detail. It just seemed like there was a lot of objects, a lot of. I mean, the place just looked real. The architecture was great, so I loved that part of it. But I did take points away just because it was pretty straightforward. There was not a lot of twists and turns or any strange things that happened. It was just like go in, steal this, get out, which is fine. But it was kind of basic as far as the story went, I thought.
I would agree that regards to story, there's not a lot going on, but I feel like sometimes I guess this was just my subjective feeling of it all. It didn't feel like something was missing. You have those missions where something nice happens and there's like drama. We all love seeing a hanged man in the mission just because it introduces some it's not just a couple of rooms where you steal stuff. It becomes a place. But yeah, in regards to story, there wasn't really like that usual mansion mission. We have something. Always we have someone mistreating the servants and some plots or somebody cheating on his wife or stuff like that. There's always more story. Considering that. Actually, I didn't really think about it before, but I guess if you limit somebody to size, it doesn't mean you have to limit the story, and a lot more could be done there. But I guess because scoring was done, atmosphere and story, the atmosphere for me kind of overtook it, and I felt like I shouldn't really deduct it in regards to story, because sometimes it's just if the feeling's right and if I feel like a thief and if the movement's correct, sometimes just stealing is enough and going through it. Sometimes the story for me is just the progression through the whole mansion. And I know you mentioned before, Alex, that or was it Psychosis, that the mansion mission is a safe mission, and I guess to a certain degree I would agree, because it is, people do love mansion missions. It's one of those, mansion mission or rooftop mission. It's hard to say these are not favorites, but a lot of the times you'll see, mansion missions just not being done in the way that you'd want, because you can easily make a mansion, but to make it a non-linear and fun for the player to explore, I feel like it's a hard thing to do. A lot of authors don't really achieve this. I think here it was achieved very well. You didn't really have to go through main hallways, through run, because a lot of missions will force you. If you at some point you will have to expose yourself a lot. I felt like this one was non-linear enough for me to go underground and then through the ducts and then enter these important rooms just as much as I needed to, and then and not too much. I didn't feel like too exposed. I would say that maybe the loot on expert kind of forces you to do that, but you don't have to do that. You can play on easy and you can be a lot more risk free. But at least for me, it felt like it was near perfectly done in that regard.
Whoa. May I stop you because okay, because I'm losing track of where I wanted to say something. When you said with the story, actually, now that Psychosis said it, actually, I think, and I just adjusted my rating from a 6 out of 10 to 8 out of 10 to atmosphere and story as well. I forgot about it, actually, to be honest. But yeah, there was that thing, with the mechanists, and I actually liked it. And then there was I think it was his daughter, and she was, she wanted his money and stuff like that.
She stashed the jewels up above the secret hidden place, above her
right.
room or something.
But she was not very, not very likable, if I remember.
Yeah,
that
she
right.
wanted to take the jewels and run off with some boy.
And of course, that's always a theme that that reappears in so many missions. But it always feels great if there's this not so nice person, and they want to take advantage of something they don't really deserve, and then you come along and just grab it and you're gone. It's like like a little middle finger from Garrett to the upper class. From the story, it was actually very interesting, put into a setting where religions are not very welcome. But I think, if I remember that right, there was a deeper reason why he was getting along with those mechanists, right? Was he?
He just wanted a beefier. Yeah, he just wanted a beefier security system for his gems.
But he was not. But wasn't he also complaining about the mechanist that was now living in his house and how he behaved? I think there was something like that, if I remember.
Yeah, there was. There was the mechanist that did not think that the what is it? The place where you watch.
It was the theater room.
Theater room, right? What did he call it? I think it was a blasphemy or something like that, and he
thought it was too paganish. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Wanted it to convert it into a chapel of sorts.
Yeah, and those are little things that we all love about Thief. So, actually, I think in comparison to all the missions, that this mission actually had more of that than most of them.
Yeah, it hit some nice points. What do you think?
There's a little funny. Well, hold on. Well, there's a little funny bit where it's in the same readable. It's like, oh, he had to brick out one of the windows because there could only be one stained glass behind the pulpit or whatever. And then you see behind the pulpit, there's the beautiful, mechanist little stained glass window, and then the other window is just bricked in and trying to cover it up. I do love little touches like that to the story that gives reasons for things and stuff.
It's like your contest missions from the last contest.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Lovely details.
Would you agree, Mike, with this story?
Trying to remember the story.
I kind of
flew.
Little stories. Let's say that.
Like I said, I played these missions a while ago, but this morning I ran through them, but I didn't really read any readables, or I just kind of cruised through them just to check everything out.
So you agree with us?
Sure, I agree 100%, guys. Good job.
I mean, the story really isn't, I'd say, the
it's not like a hard
mission.
hidden. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just if you guys want to know, Randy Teffer's rating of that mission is 26.
All right, more than you and Psychosis. Actually, no. Yeah. Psychosis had it at 24.
24.
Right?
I upped it to 25.
Hell yeah, let's go.
Now. But yes, like we kind of touched again. Like we said, it plays it too safe. There's that kind of trope where it's like, oh, the Victorian mansion with the deep dark, secret hidden underneath, and this one just is like, no, like all it is a Victorian mansion. There you go. I think it's gonna hurt it in the long run. Yeah, no, definitely, it's
time for change.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Like I know when I was talking with Fire Mage, I think he said it in the Drumhead Discord that it's a breath of fresh air, because it's kind of like, it's a trope like, oh, there's got to be like a hidden catacombs underneath or something, and even when maybe it doesn't fit, like in some cases, like that mission from the last contest, I can't remember the name, where the unknown lurks, where there's just a random catacombs. In this case, it's just like, no, like it's just you go in, you're stealing some gems. There's no like a rug being pulled out from under you. Like that's it. And
I have a simple job planned for this evening. Pretty much.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. I have a simple job planned for this evening. I'm gonna steal a fat nobleman's treasure.
I missed the rent due. That's what was missing for me. That he needs money for the rent. So that's why I needed to take 2 points off the story. No, I have one technical question about that mission, and since I'm sitting here with at least one or two experts, when you are in the sewers, there are those in front of the lamps. There are those little gates, kind of thing,
Grates, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Grates, yeah, right. And it's grates, and the shadows. I had the feeling that they drop are very thin, and I couldn't remember that in Thief the shadows could be rendered that thin, but they were. Is it just me that I don't know, didn't recognize it?
By thin, do you mean like very sharp?
Sharp, yeah, they are very sharp.
Yeah, that's some like technical setting you could do when you're lighting the mission.
Okay.
I don't remember the exact details, but that's like I know Gort does it a lot in his missions. That's why his shadows are really, really like sharp,
crisp.
Very crisp. It's something you could do, but it one makes the game lag more sometimes if you use it too much, and then two, I think it eats up like more of the cells.
But maybe in a 1 million units contest, it's
like it's perfect for this type of contest. Yeah, like to get those sharp.
But I was right that it's not the usual standard shadow rendering I was used to. So it got to my eye, and so I wanted to ask. Thanks for explaining.
No problem.
Yeah. Overall,
I was going to mention one thing too before we move on to the next mission. But of course, since I'm running the contest, I have a little more information than the rest of everybody, but I won't say too much. But this mission, Midsummer Night's Heist, the author, he messaged me and said he was testing 2 weeks after the contest started. I thought that was hilarious.
Like you mean like when it originally kicked off, like the contest, not so I think you announced it in like October, right? Like October 1st, I think you made the announcement thread.
Yes.
So
midway through October, he was testing already. He had finished the mission and was testing. I'm sorry, he or she.
Great. Oh,
He, she, it, they, whatever.
Garrett. Interesting, very interesting. But yeah, it's always we had that in the last contest as well. That there are like some missions that were just made in some days, or some authors even made 2 entries in the last one in just some days. Yeah,
maybe that was
I don't know. It was son of a Burrick or what? Yeah,
some
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
I don't know. But yeah,
By the way,
there's a lot of missions this time that were made very quickly. If you kind of look at their readmes and stuff, so
I don't read them.
You're one of those guys.
one of those.
Yeah, he's gone. So, anything you want to add, or should we go on with the next one? The next one should be really quick, but
I have
Maybe
to go
s-
back real quick, Alex. Did you actually say that the Builder's Paradise, you were comparing it to this mission as being very straightforward?
I think he meant Feast of Pilgrims.
oh
I-
yeah, Feast of Pilgrims. I'm
I
sorry.
debated pointing that out, but by the time I thought about it, I was like, oh, it's too late.
No, yeah, of course. I mean Feast of Pilgrims. I'm sorry. Feast of Pilgrims was very safe. Builder's Paradise was not very safe.
I was going to say, man. What,
I know.
I'm curious to see how this mission does, like with the general voting.
Yeah, but thanks
like
for
by
correcting
TTLG
me
and
or
stuff.
pointing it out, Mike, because yeah, that would have been confusing.
I mean, Builder's Paradise takes a little bit more time, but
Bit, and it's maybe a bit harder, and yeah.
I still haven't finished it, but I will soon.
I know. Yeah, as
I've
I said,
tried.
like
I've tried.
when we prepared for the episode, when we talked to Fire Mage, I at the end I had to watch a Let's Play because I couldn't do it. And yeah, but that's another story. So let's go on with.
Can I just
Yeah, of
one
course.
more sentence? It almost felt to me like we're gonna talk a lot more about this mission, but going back to it now, there isn't a lot to say because it's you could say it's quite standard in many respects, but I feel like it's gonna score very high, and that might show that since we have a lot of nuances in with the artists, and then we want to try daylight missions, and let's try weird missions, and in the end it feels like just going for that. I mean, at least myself, I'd like to see more standard missions. It doesn't have to be explosive in any way, but just standard and done right, and it's gonna take a lot of applause.
And now I want to add one sentence as well. I think, first of all, this must be an author who knows what he's doing. And second, this mission is like a bucket list, how you do a fun little mission.
Exactly.
Like it's like a checklist.
Yeah.
You have a nice sewer, then you have that secret passage up, then you have that little bit jokey, funny thing with the mechanists, how they enter a new place. And then you have that little family money story in the background, and yeah, you have some stealing here and there. I think, and of course, then there's that hidden key in the sewers, and but it's not actually where you would think it is, and stuff like that. It's fun.
Indeed, very much fun.
So the next mission is the total opposite of that.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean, at least in a way that it brings more controversy.
Yeah. What? I don't know what you mean. For me, it's a 60 out of 30.
Perhaps a 60 out of 30. I mean, at least I would say people are much more divided on that one. But
I don't
suppose
think so.
You don't think so?
People love it. I think it's when you look at the forum, it's like activating. Let's say the name. It's Alcazar, of course. Yeah,
By
it's Schlock
or Schlock,
yeah,
rather. Sorry.
Schlock.
Yes.
And yeah, it's the. I would say it's the second part or the prequel or whatever you want to call it to Into the Odd, because it's made by the same guy or one of the Into the Odd guys. And you can see it, you can feel it, you can smell it, and you could see my face playing it.
What was your score, Alex?
7 in space. But just because I didn't get a good feeling for the space because it was all over the place. Design and construction was a 7. Design is like, it's a Thief 1 game. And atmosphere story, it's a 6, and I think Psychosis will what? But again, it's like the same thing in like Into the Odd. It didn't catch me. It didn't interest me after a while. And if the story and atmosphere don't catch me, then I can't rate them so high. So it's 7.76, 20 out of 30.
For me, it's 10 for space, 9 for design, and 10 for atmosphere. So it's 29, second, close
Next
to
left
my
the channel.
What about you, Psychosis?
Oh, for me, it's perfection personified. 30 out of 30, 10s across the board. It is exquisite. Absolutely amazing mission.
I do
What did
agree.
he pay you?
Yes.
But
no, what about you,
take my payment?
Mike, what is your opinion on that? Your rating?
I'm 100% with. I had this mission rated at 29 yesterday, but when I replayed it this morning, I bumped it up to 30. I couldn't find pretty much anything that was a weakness. So it's 10, 10, 10 for me all the way.
100%.
I think in general
perfect.
we can start the same discussion like with Into the Odd. So I don't want to add so much. It's just not my type of mission. I can see what's good about it. I can see that a lot of thought went into it, and the design. Yeah, if you like this creepy, strange design, it's really done well. I have to admit that. It's just not my type. So it's nothing personal. It's nothing. It's just not my type of mission.
Can we determine something first? I think based on this mission, it's clear to say we already know Alex and myself were Thief 2 over Thief 1. I'm guessing right now that Brethren, you're with Psychosis when it comes to Thief 1 versus Thief 2.
Yeah, I do prefer it, yeah, but that's safe to say. I like all Thief, of course, but yeah, Thief Gold, that's for me.
Yeah,
but you're an old
screams,
guy, that's okay.
This mission just screams that like authentic, just pure Dark Project atmosphere, and I love every bit of it. Like, there's not one area in this mission that I look at and I'm like, no, that's terrible, or that's not good. Everything's
I would
great.
say it's even advanced Thief Gold atmosphere and stuff.
I love
the enemy design was great.
It's Thief Gold on like steroids. I love it. It's there's just these little man, I can't even begin. Like it first off, the amount of detail, like it despite being for Thief Gold, like the amount, like the brushwork. Again, this the drum nerd in me, but like it's just beautiful. The the use of like ambience and the sort of settings that you get is out of this world, and I like. We said it's kind of like Into the Odd. Comparatively, thankfully, it's not as annoying to play, at least at the beginning, for Into the Odd as Into the Odd. So that's why to me, even though this is a way smaller mission and over very quickly, I'd put it above Into the Odd.
Same here.
Like in my all-time, like favorite lists. Even though I would say they're extremely close. This one's just
I think
everything about it is just
more fresh.
great.
This one stays more fresh, because it's quicker and shorter. I think it's more like intense and like concentrated Into the Odd, without the
exactly
the wacky areas at the beginning, for example, and
without no reason to lose your. Well, there is a reason, but it's kind of annoying losing your blackjack and having to do some annoying forced ghosting, pretty much, which is what brought Into the Odd down, definitely.
So
what were you gonna say next? Yeah.
I just wanted to perhaps we start with Alex so that we don't end on a low note. What were the high points? What were the low points for you in this mission, Alex?
The high point was when I finished it. No, no, I didn't like the start. I don't like this ugly Thief 1 city parts. I think the mix of textures for me is just ugly. But that's not the fault of the author. He could have chosen Thief 2, of course, but I don't like that. But later, yeah, I can totally see. It's very, very intriguing, and it's sucking you in, and it's very atmospheric, and it changes. It's even it's just an underground thing, but there are many different interesting areas within it. I can see that. But yeah, as I said, it's just not my type of mission. I don't, I can't, it would make sense if I would say this was bad and this was bad. It's just not catching me.
That's fair. I mean, I hope you at least, I'm getting a little petty here, but I hope you at least recognize like how finely crafted it's built.
I see
At
that
least in my
totally.
opinion. Yeah, like it's
As I
just
said, it's like a Thief Gold Plus. It's like
Thief Gold Plus, and it's just have you seen like the image? I think Dirk Bogan posted it on the mission thread of like all the layers of the like if you
yeah,
kind of look at it in DrawMed and stuff, or
yeah.
like from a void point of view. Yeah, it's just the amount of stuff that he managed to fit within 100 by 100 by 100, which is really small. Like in the grand scheme of things, it's very small to fit a lot of stuff in, and he jam packed like every inch of that mission with something awesome to just explore, and it was great.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I mean, I'm with Alex with not liking underground missions. I don't really like mazy missions. As soon as I hear Crayman, I'm pressing escape faster than you can say Crayman. But when you said seeing how the perfection of the mission is, I don't like crowded places when I'm playing Thief. How I said about Midsummer Night Heist, that I liked how you didn't have to go into the main halls, and I'll say even though I don't like Crayman, though I don't like the underground and the undead, and especially the haunts in the main place that I have to explore, and the mission allows you so many different entry points that if you take your time and slowly and just not just rush through it, you can pretty much avoid going through that castle, because you can pick one side from from this entrance, and then one side from this entrance, and it kind of pulled me in on it. When it started to go down, I didn't really like the fact that I'm going even more underground, and it felt like, okay, it's going to be one of those missions where I'm just going to be lost in the underworld. But it didn't, I started to like it. When I saw the castle with the haunts, I was like, oh shit, I have to go here, and I was already making assumptions that there's only one entrance, and there's going to be fighting these guys, but there was none of that. It was very well designed, and compared to Midsummer's Night Heist, where we said there's no explosive moments, or this one had, I think, the greatest, at least sections for me, because the first part, when you see the tomb from the little hole on the floor on the street, that was very well done. I mean, that alone, put enough faith into the mission that I where I would perhaps threw a towel, I continued, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, if you read the README, the
What?
story is no, the story, like, for the whole purpose of the mission, like, taking place is kind of funny in a way, because he's supposed to be like meeting Garrett is supposed to be meeting some informant, I believe, and she shows him up, and he's like, you know what? I see this tomb through the garden. Like, you literally see it. It's like 10 feet from the player like just looking straight down through the hole, and he's like, I'm just gonna go and rob this tomb. I'm gonna make some money while I'm here. So it's not like a lost adventure. So to me, that's like the perfect. For some reason, I just enjoyed that like premise of a mission, even as ridiculous as it seems. But do you have any opinions on it, Mike? Like beyond what we said, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with most of the good comments, of course. I mean, I have like a notepad down with all my notes on all the missions, pluses and minuses, and I was having a really hard time coming up with any minuses for this mission. It's the only one didn't seem to have any faults.
Yeah.
And as kind of a hack drometer, like the rest of these missions for this contest, I kind of look at them and I go, oh yeah, well maybe on a good day, maybe I could come up with something close to that. This mission, I could never come up with anything close to this. It's so complex the way he designed everything and created all these passages that connect and intertwine, and it's just crazy. I mean, as a drummer,
there's like 50 different ways to go about the mission. Really, like you could replay it and probably go a completely different route, and then you could replay it again, and like maybe after the 50th playthrough, you'll finally have exhausted like all the routes and stuff, and it's just amazing.
There's no reason to play it a second time, in my opinion. But no, I'm just kidding. I can totally, as I said, I can totally see how good it is on what it's doing. And yeah, if you see that picture, how everything is scrambled together, and yeah, it's a piece of art in what it is. Yeah, It's just a thing of taste, I think. If it wouldn't be so extreme with all that, it's extreme. It has everything I don't like. Like zombies and whatever. It's everything I don't like.
I found the zombie. I think there's like the zombie welder. It's like one of the, I guess, the welders in the mine got zombified and still had his gear on, and you could like explode him if you shoot the gas tank on his back.
Really?
Which is just like, yeah, if you shoot, I think with a regular arrow, I'm not too sure. Maybe a fire. Well, definitely with a fire arrow because it'll explode it anyway. But like the gas tank, if you shoot it with a regular arrow, it'll explode and kill him like instantly.
Nice.
And it's just like it's those neat little touch, like it's one of those like just things that like they didn't have to do. Yeah, like like he could have just stopped at like the welder, thing, and then you would have been like, okay, but like he went the extra mile to set up like the whole scripting of like, oh yeah, this is gonna explode and launch this guy, and it actually killed me because I wasn't expecting it. Like I did it just because I'm friends with the author, and he told me like, when you see that guy, shoot an arrow at the canister, and like in my head, I'm like, okay, maybe it'll just do a little explosion and kill him or something, and then next thing I know, his face is coming at me at like 100 miles per hour. And then you hear and then you just die. But perfection. This mission is so good.
I just redid my rating.
Okay.
From use of space 9, design. Yeah, actually, it's a 10.
Yeah, to me, at the very least, use of space is a 9. Like anything less,
it's a 10. It's a 10. I give it that. And design construction is 8, and atmosphere story is 7 from me now. It's 25 out of 30.
Ooh, big jump there.
Yeah, you convinced me, guys.
I think I might bump it up as well.
Like I said, like oh, thank you. Yeah, well, let's all get it to 30 out of 30.
Yeah.
Like design construction. That's I don't even really understand that category too much. I always just to me.
We'll talk about that later.
But atmosphere story. Yeah, that's definitely just up to personal taste. And then but use of space, it has to be at least a 9. Like it's the way he fit everything in this mission is just mind blowing, to be honest. And it's makes me depressed. It makes me depressed as an author. I'm like, damn it.
That's kind of what I was getting at. I'm like, I could never make something like this.
Yeah, no, this is into the odd.
Even I can't,
Even when you're playing, you're like, how? This guy is breaking the rules 100%.
Yeah,
he should be arrested.
And in one of his missions,
But when we were talking about, are there minuses in this mission? I'd say that this mission works on this scale. If you make this mission and you make it 4 times as big and keep the complexity, it would be a nightmare.
It
That's
might
what I
be
said.
a
Like
bit too much.
it's concentrated into the art, and
No, that's fair.
it doesn't have all the not so good areas. It's like really concentrated. Even if it has multiple ways and nice hidden passages and stuff like that, I like that. But it's still pretty forward, and there's always something to do, and always an interesting area to explore. So yeah, it does. I know what you guys mean. It does almost everything right in what it's wanting to do.
What it's aiming to do, yeah.
Yeah, I think the one negative I had on my page here was that it was too short. But then I went back and I'm like, well, that's not fair. It's a limited side contest, so I crossed it out.
Who came up with that idea with that one? Those short missions that come out of those contests.
I just wanted it to keep going. I wanted it to keep going on. But...
Yeah. No, and I mean, it gave us at least a very interesting discussion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
I'm not done with it yet.
Keep going, man.
I mean, when we talked
1
about
hour and we are at the second mission. But go on. That's nice.
We started with the big ones. It's hard.
We did start with two heavy hitters right off the bat. Yeah.
That's right.
And whereas a Midsummer's Night Heist is more standard, not a lot to talk about, this one really has some good topics. And I have to say, when we talked about the Into the Odd mission, and I told you like how it made me feel like I'm in some weird circus, right? Yeah. Where it's a little bit unnatural, too much for my taste. Exactly. This one, I knew before playing it that it's the same author or one of the same authors, and it felt like the underground sections, anything that's weird, was very well done, and it was in place, right? But whenever I was in an apartment or in a factory, it felt like a pagan was designing a factory, out of what he thinks a factory. Because when I was in a factory, it felt like it sort of looks like a factory, but I feel it's like
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
If like some magician put me in a sort of a prison that doesn't feel like a prison, and I'm like, I know this isn't right. This isn't
the same like with Into the Odd. The more inhabited places, I would say. I didn't like them there either, and as I said, at the start, the area, I didn't like it. It doesn't feel right. But yeah, that's actually a very good observation.
Yeah, small tidbit of knowledge is Into the Odd was more Squad of Frank's mission, and then Schlock was like Santa's little helper, and then this time it's like flipped around pretty much because they work together again, but this time it was Schlock at the helm. Yeah, so it's interesting to see how similar their styles are, but also like how different they handle like you said, like the underground and stuff like that.
But of course, the setting of the contest was different, so you don't, it's hard to compare,
Yeah.
I mean, what I said before, I have to say that it's not that I didn't like the factory. Perhaps this fact that this just doesn't feel right made it feel even better in a way. Just I want to clarify that.
At least it gave me a good laugh now with your comparison with pagan design. That so 10 out of 10 design and construction.
One more thing.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask anything you guys want to add.
Yeah. How there's a clear division between Thief 1 mission and Thief 2 missions. We can't always. Well, I said clear, but there is a division. We can't really always put that finger on it. But sometimes, maybe it's the art style or the resources that we get. But how there are these places like that seem more ancient than anything that you see in a Thief 2. Maybe that's just my interpretation of it. But when you get that into that part where there's some strange noise, I think there's something written on a tombstone and it's a little bit covered with leaves. Do you remember that part?
Mm.
I
At
think
the very end with a tomb, or no?
It feels like the tomb, but I think it's not that exact part. If I'm not, maybe you get teleported to that place.
Oh, the Abysm of Time? Is that what you're talking about? And
I
then
think
you
it's
fall
at,
into that
yeah.
hole.
I think it's at
And
the
then-
end of Abysm of Time. I think if you go through, there's
the
that
hole, and then there's like
Yeah.
that little garden area. Is that what you're talking about?
I think there's some sort of garden area, but it feels like otherworldly yet familiar at the same time. And there are a couple of places, mostly in Thief 1 missions that achieve that, but most times not really. You know what I mean? Like there's that.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Do you know that hidden alley in Bad Depths?
Mm-hmm.
Like it feels like that, and whenever an author attempts to create a place like that, it's just like it's like a mysticism overblown, and you just want to stay there and you like soak it in. If you can get that in a mission, yeah, it's sure to be. I mean, you'd have to really mess it up to ruin that part.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And for everyone who wants to know, random Tethers 28. So yeah.
Can we?
Okay.
Psychosis, quickly convince him to bump it up.
Nah, he's pretty adamant on that.
I think it's time for a Nightwalk now.
The next mission, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, let's go.
This was the first timer?
Puka Ball, yes. Was the author name.
Yeah. I think it was good. Mike, start with your rating of Nightwalk, please.
Sure. I gave it a 15 total. I didn't actually break it down into categories. I didn't get that far, but
Finally, you're more harsh than I am.
I mean, it was pretty obvious it was a first timer kind of beginner mission, but I thought they did a pretty good job for their first try. I mean,
I agree, yeah.
I enjoyed playing the mission. I mean, it wasn't like it was torture or, I was trying to get through it. But yeah, there was some pretty obvious beginner mistakes. But actually, with this contest, I was kind of hoping with the smaller size, we would have got more beginner missions like this. But this is kind of pretty much the only one, really.
Yeah, before you get into that, Psychosis, what was your rating?
Pretty much the exact same, 15. I did fill out the categories, but they're all 5s.
What?
And yeah,
Same for me.
I mean, we'll get into this in just a bit. Well, there goes next with his ratings. But
Yeah, it's the same for me. 5 across, average.
Yeah.
So, to the new author, maybe you are even new to the community, Pokeball, Alexi Lokain.
He's very new, yeah.
Yeah, so just for you to know, I am the nice podcast uncle here, because I gave it a 17. Because I totally saw what's in there. And no, I gave it best use of space 6, design construction 6, atmosphere story 5. So I got 17. So I'm the nicest guy here.
It's usually not how it works, Usually.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, I could see like, hey, he's new and maybe he needs some motivation,
No, yeah, that's why. I mean, like if this was an author who's made a couple missions before, my score would have been a lot lower, or not a lot lower, but like a little bit lower. But it does show promise. It doesn't do anything like outright terrible, or anything terrible, really. I mean, there's some areas where there's like no.
It's actually doing things pretty good for first
for a beginner. Yeah, there's some areas where like again, the room brushing, there's like no sound at all. There's a couple areas like that.
Yeah, that's just typical amateur.
That's a mistake.
thing.
Yeah, that's not really like a design thing. So I didn't know where to strike points off for that. But like I said, it doesn't do anything bad. It's just it wasn't awful to play through. It was 15 means it's 5 out of 10, which means it's average. I had a decent time. I
You know,
thought there was some good ideas there, and it shows promise because I think the author made this in about like a week or two. So
that's very impressive. So
yeah, definitely.
it's a city mission, a
Mhm.
pretty flat one.
Mhm.
But to be honest, and that's why I think rating systems are always very questionable. Yes, of course, Alcazar is maybe a masterpiece of what it's doing. But actually, I had more fun in Nightwalk. So from
Okay.
an artist and technical point of view, of course, Alcazar or Midsummer Night's Heist are way better than that. But this one actually fitted my playstyle way more. It was more relaxing. I could think about things. I could check where do I go next. There's not a haunt on every corner, and not a dog in every room. Um, I don't know if people will hear that on the podcast, but Psychosis' dog was barking again. Quack. No, but I liked it. It was a really relaxing little city mission. It had nice places. It was a nice mission. I liked it.
You said it was flat, and it does have a lot of verticality to it, which is, I guess, my pet peeve when missions have very little verticality.
Oh yeah, I did enjoy. There's some areas where like you have to like walk across some beams between buildings, and I always enjoy that type of stuff. The very
Exactly.
vertical movement and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It has
But
some Thieves Highway moments.
yeah, like I said, like I would love to see this guy now that he's more familiar with the editor and stuff. Like kind of sit down for more than having to try and cram something in for 2 weeks and see what he could do.
Yeah, actually, has a lot of potential. I think
Mhm.
this mission is like endless rain. No, I'm just kidding.
I was about to flip out.
And you know what? At the end, it's a Skaki mission. It's just anonymous entry. No, I don't know. Is there a story? It was just cool. It was a cool mission. I liked it. I can't say more about it, really, out of my memory, but I know that I liked it.
I'm pretty sure the story is just rent, unironically, like rent is due, and you're
Perfect.
just thieving the district to get some cash real quick. I think that's
Yeah.
literally the story.
Yeah.
But
That's
fair enough. There's nothing wrong with that.
The
Yeah.
game is
It's the
called
story we
Thief.
like.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who also did it? Yeah. Mike?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, please give us your opinion in detail now.
I kind of said a little bit before. I did like it. It was fun. I finished it. It was kind of flat on the street side of things, but yeah, there was the verticality with the you could rope arrow to some places, which was nice. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of basic. It's kind of what you'd expect from a beginner, and the fact that they did it in a week is kind of incredible if you think about it. If it's their first mission.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and what Psychosis just said, like, just imagine, like, if they just take their time with, or he or she or it, and just create something without any pressure and without any limitation. Maybe yes, of course, the limitation might help as a beginner, but that this was his trial run, and now maybe he's more familiar with everything, and yeah, maybe there's
there was
I think
What's my story?
There was an idea years ago in the forums that some people thought it would be good for a contest if you took like a seasoned dramaturg, paired him up with a newbie, and had them do a mission together. I mean, something like that would have been interesting with this person if somebody
Actually, yes.
well known was consulting them along the way. They probably could have done great
But
things.
I think
like a coach, you mean?
Yeah,
Like a coach.
but for a contest like that, you need to find like several new authors, and I think
Yeah, that's the
for a
hard thing.
contest, there's at least one or two if we're lucky. But to be honest, for some experienced authors, maybe there also a coach would be good. But yeah, that's another story. Yeah, but I like the idea, but I think it will be hard to handle.
I thought the one thing that was kind of glaring in this mission was some of the audio transitions
Ambience.
going from one area to the other, and they just cut off.
Yeah.
And it was that just takes learning. They'll figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I wouldn't criticize that as a beginner. Like, I think what I think like the biggest limitation is the engine itself, and it's Nightwalk. Play it and see the potential and wait for more from.
Yeah.
Why can't they
Pokeball.
have normal names? Pokeball. Okay, that's a Pokeball. Yeah, I can. Okay.
You mean like
I
Supreme Sea? Yeah.
I just thought of that as well. But Alexei Lokain, he must be Eastern European, I would say.
Maybe.
It does sound so.
Yeah. But we will see. Recipe for Turmoil?
Let's go.
By
your
Anonymous.
score?
By Anonymous. Yeah. I have no idea who could it be. Maybe you guys, but next, give us your rating.
Well, just to add, it would be bigger if the mission wasn't that small. But for me, it's 6 for use of space.
It would be bigger if it wasn't that small.
He means
the
higher.
use of space.
That's what she said.
The use of space, I give it 6. I gave it 8 for design and construction, and I give it 7 for atmosphere and story.
The same.
Really?
Yeah, I gave it 6, 8, 7. 21 out of 30.
I gave it 7 on space, 8 on construction, and then a 9 on story and atmosphere.
And Mike?
I gave it 8, 8, 8, so 24 for me.
So we are all pretty close for the first time, I think, on this one.
Me and Mike scored the same, basically, 24 out of 30, and then you and Nick scored the same. So
Interesting. There wasn't.
Means, we are more,
right.
critics. There's one flaw. No, we come to that later. Average. It's a daylight mission.
No, it's the nighttime raining city district mission, I think.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm just mistaken. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So now I got to rethink. What was it again? Can you guys
the raining little towns district? Yeah. What were you gonna say next?
Since let's me and Alex start since we rated a little bit lower. For me, if you have to say if any mission screams potential, it's definitely this one. But I think it's not that somebody did this, and reached his limitations. I think this is it's a good entry, but when it comes to use of space, it's not really cleverly used. If you compare it to Alcazar feels like a city mission compared to this one. But if you take away the size, because size, for my opinion, affects the story, it affects the atmosphere. Well, it depends on how you see it. For me, at least, it does, just because it ended too quickly, right? But I loved how it looked. I loved the verticality. Immediately, it led me through a nice path, but it just ended very quickly. And for me, that's the only downfall. When I said for Alcazar that mission works on that scale, and I wouldn't want to see it bigger. Here it's the exact opposite. For me, it does not work on this scale. But if this was 4 or 8 times larger, I think it would be a very, very good mission.
Yeah, when I was, I know who made it. I'm not gonna spoil it, but when I was helping test it, it definitely ended too soon. Like it was over before. Like casually, you could play the mission first time and be over in like 25 minutes,
Yeah.
which is that's just like that's not even like trying to speed run it or anything. That's just playing like normally, like crouching and waiting for patrols, and it doesn't ever take off. So yeah, the use of space is definitely the weakest category. Design and construction I thought was really good. Like the again, like if you look in like drama and stuff, the brushwork and even just like the design of rooms, it's very like Skaki Milan-esque in a way.
I think for a Thief 1 mission, actually, I would say that, Thief 1 looks always less detailed, but this one felt really great, I think.
Yeah, and the like I said, the design and construction I think is just great for, especially again if you read the README. It was made in like I think 10 days. So that's pretty impressive for 10 days, I think.
What I think is actually this is the better Nightwalk.
Yeah, I mean that's fair enough.
I think they are comparable,
They are comparable. Nightwalk's a bigger, I guess, city area if you wanted to, like, because it's flatter, so it doesn't have really a lot of elevation, at least in the terrain.
But I don't know. I have to.
But I know what you're saying.
Similar feeling, like.
Mm-hmm. And I personally, like, if I was to change one, maybe I'd down atmosphere and story. But you know me, I love rain. I love like any sort of weather effects.
Just add rain to your mission, and you will get that tiny little point that might change the outcome.
Yeah,
at the end.
Rain or snow, you're gonna get a bonus point in atmosphere from me.
Both in one mission.
But
and daylight.
and I did find the story kind of interesting. Like even if it was kind of simple, there's just a chef who is driving the district crazy, and you have to go and steal his recipe. Hence the name of the mission. And the little logbook of like him, like with his debts and owes, or debts and payments and whatever. And there's like the one entry, like this fat ass Lord Rindren who ordered a whole Burke. It's just cute little things.
The detail in the readables was pretty nice.
Right. There's that the one area which I thought looked pretty great. That like where the guy was writing the letter, where you find the key to the safe, and he was writing, like, the guy was writing a letter to his like love interest about how the key was like misdelivered to him, and now he's gonna win the favor of the chef so that he could get a real chef, because he's like a pompous noble type, and he's like, I'm gonna get a real cook to actually make this recipe. And then you could read like the books on like the library and stuff. Like they're just his titles. Like it's like Love and Riches by, and then I forget the guy's name. But yeah, I mean, I think this is. I agree with Nex. If this was expanded like 3-4 times more, I think this would be a great mission, or at least has the potential.
Could be in the top, yeah.
Yeah, like it has the foundation, but I do feel like it wasn't the right mission for this contest. So, like, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because it had many interesting starting points, I would say. Like things you might want to follow. And then they end up, maybe not really solved, or there could have been more. And maybe there should be an extended version.
For sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, if you had make a mission in a week contest, I would expect the best results to be somewhere along this mission.
We should start a contest now, because the vaccines are now coming, and then everybody has to get back to work.
Yes, but I'm really not a fan of time restriction missions where it's like one week, because in the end, can you really expect a mission that you'd want to play out of a week?
Of course not.
Probably not.
Or
We-
maybe
we all-
then the author, if they really pull off a great mission within that time restriction, could you mute yourself, Psychosis, while typing? That thank you.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
irritating me. If you then you can see he ruined my joke.
Good. It was probably bad anyway.
Yeah, it wasn't going to be good anyway. So.
No, I wanted to say, now I say it. If someone really pulls off a really great mission within that time restriction of 1 week, then the author will hang from a rope. I think. Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That German humor. No, I'm
What?
kidding. It's
What-
Alex's dark
was
humor.
ist das?
No, but like I said that you'd expect you wouldn't really want to see the 1 week missions, but every time there's a contest, I always have some concerns about it, and every time we have those, every time I'll be proven wrong and surprised by this mission and that or other respect. But so I guess partially I have to take that back.
Okay. What would you
But
think, Mike? Or if Nex wanted to continue?
You
no,
done?
yes, go ahead.
No, I like this mission. I probably liked it more than you guys did, but I think in some areas it did nail that Thief Gold feel pretty good. Just because you make something in Thief Gold doesn't mean it's gonna feel like Thief Gold, but this one kind of did to me. Some good ambience. It's kind of hard to put your finger on it, but it was weird. The size, it's like I looked at it in Andromeda, and the cube it is built in is actually, maxed out as far as the size allotments, but it just feels smaller for some reason. I don't know why.
It's weird that it feels big, but it also feels too small for the contest. It feels big, like when you're looking at like the buildings, but then like not many of them ended up being enterable or were for show.
I mean, maybe it's the
And-
verticality because there's some dead space on top because of the buildings.
Yeah, that's
I
fair.
don't know. But I mean, that's just part of building a city, so
Right.
that's just the way it's going to be. But yeah, no, I liked it. I mean, this is probably of all my missions, this is probably my 4th or 5th rated mission, so I enjoyed it. There was kind of minimal AI too, which I wouldn't say it made it easy, but it wasn't necessarily all that difficult. I think what were there like only 4 or 5 AI in the whole mission, something like that. At least on the streets,
yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. The streets were a little difficult, at least for me. And then but like the areas themselves are kind of easy to get through. The little buildings and stuff.
I guess maybe that's why it felt even smaller for me than it should, because first thing I happened to stumble upon the place where the safe is. So after that, I could just avoid the streets altogether, and it just kind of how you kind of get lucky and get to the right place, and then you don't have to explore the area that you'd otherwise explore. So I guess that's why it felt smaller.
I see. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think it was a fun little mission. To me, like, it's obviously, what did I give it? 24 out of 30. It's in the upper half, like top 3, 4-ish area. But I would like to see it expanded upon.
I don't
Indeed.
think I'd really compare it to Nightwalk though, like Alex did. And that's an obvious beginner mission. This one does not feel like a beginner mission at all to me.
I didn't want to say it like that, but
I think he meant just like, city district, getting loot to kind of just
the
fill a
theme
goal
was
and then
kind
leaving.
of
Yeah.
similar. But of course,
I get it. Yeah, but
the technical outcome, of course, it's different. Of course, I didn't want to say anything in that direction.
The feel is quite different.
yeah.
Yeah, but I would say it's just from the when you would read it on a page, on a blank page, what is the setting, and then you could say that maybe this could go in the same direction. You know what I mean?
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, we're coming across as maybe not as enthusiastic about this mission. But like you said, Psychosis, it was really enjoyable. And usually you would get not angry, but for lack of word, let's say angry at the missions that that have potential but don't completely
Yeah.
use it.
Do you get
But it
angry
was
at missions
fun.
often, or
Sorry?
do you get angry at missions often?
Yes.
This mission makes me very angry.
I mean,
Okay.
especially because if sometimes I tend to be maybe a little bit perfectionist. That's the I guess the supreme ghosting part. But because because a lot of times you have missions like it would be perfect if it didn't have this one thing. But I think this all speaks to the fact that in the community we had some real gems, and these gems created this standard that's very hard to achieve. And when missions come close to that, it's you're like, I hope it was up there, because in the end, we don't really get 5 missions per week, right? Where you'd be like, it's where more will come, and more will come, but they're not
Maybe there will be a
incredibly
part.
abundant.
There will be a part 2.
Yeah.
Who knows? But
Sequel.
yeah, the rating from Random Teffer, by the way, was 25, and for Nightwalk, I forgot that was 8. So he's the bad uncle on the forum. So
That's
just
neat.
wanted his rating. Yes, yeah.
By the way, I have access to all the votes for everybody on the forums. If you guys want to know, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna. But
Yeah, that's your god complex that's coming through there, right?
hey, if you got it, use it.
I got your prayers. I know who.
And if you're lying about your scores, I will make that known as well.
we can just change them right now. So
Brethren wins the contest.
Didn't even enter.
yeah, that would be amazing if the contest winner would be Brethren.
Hey, that's not that funny. Come on.
Yeah, suddenly in the ratings at the end, at the results, there's suddenly a mission nobody played, and yeah.
I mean, at this point, just out of curiosity, are you an author, Brethren?
I'm a hack, pretty much. I've made a few missions, but nothing recently.
He's made Brother Renault was the author name, right? Back then.
Yeah, I made
That was
one
like
under
your
that
old
name.
username, yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, my first mission was for one of Yandros's contests back in what's that, like 2005 or something.
I love how you're full of knowledge, Psychosis. Professor.
I know my friends.
At least one of us. And he's the youngest,
Well, what about you guys? You guys gonna fire up Drama anytime soon, or what?
Nex is working on his mission. He creates his mission in 10 days, years, and and for me it's like I don't want to embarrass like guys like Fire Mage that they say, oh damn, I could never do that, so I don't start it.
God complex, huh?
The God cast.
I did start a mission myself, but the size restriction would really help me, because at this point I'm just struggling to release it at some point.
I offered my help, but
yeah, Supreme is officially on the team.
Yeah, but more for the creative stuff for in the background, not for the building itself.
Texts and ideas, probably some voice acting too.
Maybe. Yeah. But let's not lose too much time. The next one would be Sabotage in Eastport, if I'm right.
Yeah.
So my rating is best use of space is 6, designs construction 8, and atmosphere story 6.
Similar.
Okay.
I'm on 6 for space, 5 for design, and 6 for atmosphere.
I had 8 for design, not 5.
That's the
That's
difference.
the almost similar.
Yeah.
I had for me I had 6 for use of space, 5 for design, and 7 for story atmosphere. So overall 18.
And I had a 6, 7, 7 for a total of 20.
So again, we're pretty close. And I thought it's surprising. I thought you guys might, because that was the cube run. Like it was just a cube, actually. Yeah.
The
Very
mission,
Yes.
yeah, very
So
very supportive.
and I thought that you guys will have lower ratings, especially in the use of space and design construction thing. But I think I don't know why. This mission has, especially on a technical level or a design level, so many flaws. But the gameplay, I don't know why it was just fun. I really like to play this. If I would have seen just screenshots, I would have been like, oh man, I skip it, But it was fun. It was really
Yeah.
just fun. I played it from start to the end with a smile.
The author Truder is pretty well known, or at least I think pretty popular. He's never really made like a bad mission, and
He's
this
German.
is just yeah, I think he is, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds
He
like.
he he never made a bad mission, and this one continues that trend. Uh, like I think it's like we said, it's a bit boxy, and I think how enclosed it is, some of the areas are too small and kind of like
Yeah,
not
especially
very
the
pretty.
apartments, right?
The apartments where you have to rope arrow into them or whatever on like I think it would be the east side. And the Mechanist building is a bit too like repetitive, and I didn't like one thing I didn't like these are all like nitpicky things, but one thing I genuinely didn't like was how you complete the main objective of shutting down the big robot, in that you actually just have to kill it. Because I unless there was a button somewhere or like a switch to hit, but I looked for like 10 minutes and I gave up and I just shot it with like a mine and a fire arrow, and then it killed it, and that was the objective, and I was very disappointed
I
because
actually
up
don't
until then
remember that section.
it's you have to destroy the bot that's like patrolling on the bottom floor.
You can
And-
explain. I wouldn't
prototype.
remember it. I have no
Right.
picture in my head.
I don't like, again, if there's a button or a switch somewhere that shuts it off, that's fine. But to me, it was, I didn't want to get loud, like forced to be loud with like the mine and everything. So I was a bit disappointed in that, but it's good, and I like how he fit it into Thief 2's like story. I think it takes place during somewhere in like the main story, like in between the missions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I can't remember where exactly he said it would be, but
But
you know?
just imagine, like there's a city part that suddenly looks like that. It's just a block.
Well, I think again, this is just the contest rearing its head again. If he didn't have to stay within the boundaries, it would have looked a lot better.
And it was way more fun than a lot of missions from Thief 2. So,
Oh yeah, that's definitely for sure.
Oh, there was no escorting. That's definite plus.
Oh yeah, that was, just imagine you follow mostly just in that square.
No tracing the courier.
She just randomly drops after 5 minutes.
And then she comes, you're hiding behind a corner, and then she comes back at you because there's no other way she can go, It's just...
But when you said before, even though it feels a little bit blocky, like you immediately know this is one of the ways that I scored the best use of space. If I could immediately recognize how the restrictions are, then I would rate it lower, right? And there were a few missions where you didn't really, you could easily forget that you're restricted to this small space, and those missions, I mean, of course, would get a 9 or a 10 from me. But I'd say this one, you could easily recognize where the boundaries are. I guess that hurt it a little bit, but despite all that, the verticality of the mission and jumping through the windows, I mean, that kind of created the atmosphere that made it enjoyable in that respect.
It's like a playground.
It is, yeah. This mission's like a little sandbox area.
Yeah, actually, it's a sandbox. Yeah,
there is. Like I said, I did like I said with Alcazar, but with this mission, there's a lot of ways to kind of go about getting to and from places. And Intruder always has that down to a T. I think he always designs missions very interconnectedly and well. But this one, like I said, I enjoyed it, but I feel like a couple weeks from now or a month, I won't really remember it. And that's why, for like story and stuff, I had to kind of down it a lot, or not design and construction and stuff. It's just, it's fun, but it's not. It's in the middle of the pack for me, at least.
I mean, at least to a certain degree, this is subjective rating, and if it's not for you, it's not for you. Some missions we rate higher than others, some missions lower.
It does have a very good like Thief 2 atmosphere to it. So if you're more into like that Victorian, sort of settings and stuff,
but it achieves everything in a very strange way, because as Nax said, you could see, this. Okay, that's the limitation, and this is totally unnatural. No one would build a city like that, but I don't know. It achieves the fun even with all those meh. It's I don't know. I really liked it, and for that, it's for me, it's kind of a piece of art, for in its own strange way.
Yeah.
But Mike, you didn't say much for that mission.
Yeah, it's kind of in the middle of the pack for me too. I'm not a big mechanist mission guy. I don't know if you guys are or not, but
same.
I don't know. Just doesn't usually do it for me. Maybe it's kind of like the way Alcazar doesn't work for you guys, but it was really square, which it was just kind of in your face the whole mission, that you have this big block of a building, it just kind of took away from it for me a little bit. As far as ratings go, I mean, when you guys rate missions, do you, like, when you're rating all these missions for the contest, do you compare your ratings? Like, do you say, well, this mission should be in here because it's better than this mission and it's lesser than this mission, kind of thing? Or do you just rate them individually based on merits?
When I do it the first time, I do individually, and then after I have all the missions like against each other, then I start saying like I gave this one like a 7, but then this one an 8, but this one I feel is way better.
Right.
So it should at least be a 9, like comparatively.
So, yeah, so
like a little
this
tweak
mission
later on.
I was kind of like, well, it's definitely better than Nightwalk, but it's not as good as maybe some of the other ones like Recipe or Perdurance. So I gave it a 20, but I don't know. I could have gone lower probably on that. But I mean, it was fun. It was okay, but again, I probably won't replay it anytime soon. Maybe that's telling. I don't know.
It's not a waste of time, and at the end of the day, that's like always a good thing.
And I thought it was
refreshing.
I like Intruder's missions usually. I
like
them.
His mission, like what is it, Heist in Hightown or something like that, is great. Like he's made a lot of very good missions, but this one's like it's good. It's enjoyable. But
this would be a mission if someone would tell me like this was a 10 days mission. I would say, yeah. I
think he made this in like a month or 2. Yeah, I think he started in like mid-November or something.
Yeah. But in Germany we all work, so give him that. Yeah. Anything to add?
I think I had this one probably out of the 9 missions, I had it rated 7th, so it was pretty far down the list for me.
And random Teffers, Rating is
15.
15. Yeah.
Very
pretty
mean
low.
uncle again.
Yeah, he's the mean uncle, yeah. He's a teffer. So the next one is another highlight. Yeah, it is a highlight because it has a highlight in itself. In the gameplay, it's Sinister Night. 644. 14 out of 30.
That was you
And
scoring.
just, yeah, because Next today asked me if everything under 5 is a bit mean. I had a 333 before, then I thought a bit about it, and yes. But what do you guys have as a score?
What do you have next?
Let me see. Sinister Night. I have it as 6 for use of space, 5 for design, and 7 for atmosphere.
Okay.
How about you guys?
I gave it 3 for use of space, 5 for design and construction, and a 3 for atmosphere and story. So overall, 11. What about you, Mike?
Guess I'm coming in on the low end here. I didn't split it out. I gave it a 10. Sorry.
I'm really nice this time. So when I entered this mission, I was like, whoa. It was the first mission I played from the contest. And when it starts, I think the atmosphere is really cool. It has some unique, not so often seen architecture-looking things. I don't know how to call it. But and then I figured out that you can turn on like a flashlight, like a light bulb that really. Did someone leave?
The recording bots.
One of them at least. With a light, there's a light, and I've never seen it in that way in a Thief game. To be honest, that
it was a neat
you can
idea.
point
a little
the light.
Flashlight. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a neat idea for sure.
I never used it, but
yeah, it was not really useful. It had one great thing: the enemies didn't see you, even if it was turned on. And then you enter, and then suddenly it's a totally average horror mission that someone really wants to do a horror mission, for a horror mission. I want to do a horror mission, but it really doesn't work because the person didn't know how to achieve. What was it? Terror. That's not how you achieve horror. Horror is like what you not see. It's about atmosphere and sounds and stuff like that, and what's hidden below. But there's, like within the first hallway, there's that little figure that suddenly then disappears when you run at it, and it's just like really basic horror that's not working. It's a beam.
Yeah. That's why I really gave it a low on atmosphere. Is when you start and you're outside, it's trying to set the mood, and you're like, okay, let's see what's about to happen. And then, like you said, you get inside, and it's like ticking the box for like every standard like sort of horror trope. There's a mission later on, a couple of missions from now that we'll talk about that I think does horror perfect almost, or at least near perfect.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Which one?
Yeah. But this one, and then it's like trying to be too jump scary, which doesn't really work for Thief. The amnesia monster, I think that's what Terra ended up using, is like the mesh, like for the enemy.
That fat ugly thing.
It doesn't really mesh well. It's
it has more a comedic
yeah,
feel.
especially since it uses like the zombie animations, so it doesn't really like walk, kind of as terrifying. Like in Amnesia, that game it was terrifying, but here it's kind of like more like you said, so almost. I hate to say this because it's very rude, but it's more like comical,
It's a fat bastard.
Yeah, like he he put a lot of effort into this. I will say the rooms and stuff are kind of built pretty well and beautifully. It kind of has the same issue as Sabotage and Eastport, except they're like with it being too blocky, but here it's on the inside. Too many like hallways and stuff. Very very symmetrical and repeating.
Like very copy pasted almost.
Yeah.
I agree.
And like I said, the idea of the flashlight's really good, but for me, I don't know if it did for anyone else. It like flickered too much, or like objects flickered too much because of it.
Yeah, I think that's why I didn't
And
really use it much.
yeah, and it was actually kind of annoying me,
Right.
like how much like the barrels and stuff or like crates would like flicker, like literally in and out of like existence almost. Um,
Yeah, but
and
I don't want to criticize that.
I know
The
that's
engine
more of
is
a
not
technical
made.
thing. That's not really
The
his fault,
engine
I
is not
think.
made
Yeah.
for that, and he tried to implement something, or
Yeah.
it's a nice touch, in my
It's like I said,
opinion.
the idea of the flashlight's actually pretty cool. Like, I actually wonder how he got it to work. Like, because it's like bringing a light point to like where you look and stuff, and that's pretty interesting. But yeah, this one's just, especially later on when we get to the other mission of the other like really more horror mission of the submissions. Like, it's kind of night and day to me. Like how one does really well, and then the other one kind of doesn't really work for me.
You're right there. This effect of the dark being a little bit unrealistic. When you talked about the barrels coming in and out. The other scary horror mission, I should say, Perdurance, also uses this effect, but to a slightly lower degree. It works a little bit better, but I'd have to say it does create a little bit of a unique feel, because we haven't. I don't remember any other mission, but I haven't played that many. But it does combining that with the lamp. Maybe it doesn't really connect everything together. It doesn't really. All in all, it doesn't feel polished, but it's a nice little experimentation. I like that.
Yeah,
But that's what it feels like. It feels like an experiment, and but nothing. I don't know.
It feels like
demo.
he played. Yeah, it feels like he played Amnesia, and then was like, "Can I make that in Thief?" And to a degree, I think he achieved it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I just don't think Amnesia and Thief really mesh well, or at least like their gameplay philosophies. So like I said, like you said with Alcazar, it wasn't for you. This one's just not for me. Like I just did not really enjoy it as much as some other people enjoyed it. And to them, if that's fair, but it's just not for me.
I mean, hopefully it's gonna inspire somebody else to use the same mechanics or approaches, and it's gonna take some growing, but it's gonna come there.
Yeah, sometimes you wonder, like you have to wonder, right? Because this contest was pretty like short in terms of like the time frame to build and the size restrictions and all that. I wonder like if again like with Nightwalk author, like if he had more time, would it have actually been more fleshed out and maybe even a lot better, maybe it could have been one of the top missions, and you kind of wonder how much was restricted by like just the contest itself.
Mm-hmm. It almost feels like it's in a different contest, right?
Yeah.
It feels like it's because it is trying to break bounds, and in a way it does, but in a horror mission style, right? And well, I guess one part does overflow into the size restriction because the how is this effect called where the shadows creep in more than they should?
Oh, I know you're talking about the
Yeah.
ambient lighting or whatever. Yeah.
But this lighting effect sort of makes the mission feel bigger. And when we talked before the episode about the missions, I kind of gave it the use of space higher, because if I would to dissect the mission, really look at it and draw it, I would see that it's like more basic than what I thought. A complete difference to Alcazar, where you think when you see that it's much more complex than you thought. This one reverses that, and just like it works for Alcazar, it's kind of works here. It did not feel like it was restricted, but then again, it was a little bit more. If it was mazy, this lighting effect would make it feel even more mazier.
May I come back to one thing? Because my mic just, I don't know, Discord, I wanted to get in where you said, like, if he would have had more time, maybe the mission would have been better in general. What I said at the beginning, I don't think that he really got what a good horror mission makes. How to make it. It's like everything in it that is like the things you don't call good horror, and I think this would have been going on maybe for a longer time.
I think I'd have to disagree there. I would say that, this mission definitely goes towards where the horror mission should be, but I think it's maybe we're not giving him enough credit. Just like I said before, some authors create standards that they're hard to reach, but there's a big gap between knowing or the idea and the actual execution at the end. Sometimes it connects, sometimes it doesn't, but I would agree that there's polish that's
but
needed.
We will when we talk about the other mission, Psychosis already mentioned, then we will see that it's possible within this limitation to create atmosphere like needed for a good horror. So yeah, but maybe we talk about that later in the other mission. So yeah, sorry for interrupting your space talk.
No worries.
So yeah, maybe you can jump in there again. Sorry.
Oh, no, I said you didn't really interrupt. I said what I wanted to say. It's just that lighting trick made me not feel the restrictions.
And Mike, what are your thoughts?
I pretty much agree with what you guys said. I think contests are kind of weird. I mean, I think Terra has made better things before. So just like Intruders made better missions, so maybe these contests aren't for everybody, But I don't know. I just kind of felt like this mission was so square, and just the architecture was so basic, and like I said before, kind of copy pasted. I just kind of felt like maybe minimal effort was kind of put into it. Maybe they just wanted to get something out. Maybe that sounds harsh, but
I mean, it's in order not for us to sound harsh, I would say that clearly there was effort put into this mission, because it has some. I mean, it's far from a novice mission,
right?
It's
Not in that way.
Yeah, I think the time investment. If you take like we have textures, then we have the lighting, then we have this. It was overdone on some parts, and then perhaps on some parts not done enough. Right? This copy pasting of the architecture certainly does hinder it. And on some other places it seems like there was a lot of tweaking, and then it feels like a lot of time went into it, right? But just it should be a little bit more spread around. But again, that comes I guess with experience. But like you said, how Intruder made better missions outside contests. I think it translates directly to how some people, maybe not directly, But you have people that perform better under stress, and then you have people that perform better when they're not under stress. And I think for some authors it kind of shows here that sometimes we have authors that will create better missions when they're in a contest, and they have these restrictions put on them, and then you have players that need the freedom. It's like that yin yang thing, right? Because whenever because yin yang is like comfort and like order and chaos, right? And whenever you're too much into chaos, you're not going to create a good result. And whenever you're too much into order, again, you're not going to create like the peak of performance is right in the middle, right? And I guess authors that are too much into order need to be thrown into chaos, and then sometimes you have authors that need these restrictions put on them, and will therefore perform better. But I don't want to go too deep into that. But
Sounds about right. Yeah. I also thought the mission. I don't usually like gauge missions as far as how difficult they are, because I mean there's some easy missions which are really fun, but I thought this mission was super easy. It was kind of almost just routine, like sit in a room, wait till the guy goes by, walk out. It's just, I don't know. It just didn't seem to be like challenge seemed to be completely out the window.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
There's got to be a little bit of resistance somewhere.
Yeah, perhaps the author expected us to use the light, and with the light you would have that source of light that would also illuminate you and create the danger. But of course, you can put your gamma a little bit higher so you can see. Because I would always like say, okay, I have this mechanical eye because I'm Garrett, right? I'm going to put the gamma up a little bit because with the mechanical eye, I should have a little bit of night vision, and because we play so much.
But isn't there the limitation of the viewing distance? Like an artificial one, not the standard thief one, but isn't there always
like
that
a fog
black
effect, you mean?
that right? Wasn't it there in there?
The lighting trick that we talked?
No, but
No, he means like a fog that like
Oh yeah.
I
know that the other mission has a fog, yeah. Perdurance, whatever.
No, but I think Sinister Night also had that, if I'm right. And so if you turn up the gamma, nice, but it doesn't help you. If there's a artificial black wall always.
Okay, yes. So you are thinking
I'm just replaying
the
it.
lighting.
No, it's not happening, I think.
I mean, the thing is, what I'm trying to say is that this is my guess. The author made the whole mission very, very dark, and whenever you have, a scary enemy behind you, the darkness is your friend. As soon as, if everything is, pitch dark, then you're in safety essentially. And whenever the lights are introduced, as they are in the other mission, then you have to hide. And whenever you're in the lit area, there's fear there. Yeah, just the monster itself doesn't give that. But I think the author Tara in Sinister Night thought that the players would use the light that's with you, and with that light you would create that illumination of self that would alert the enemy, and it would make the mission a little bit more hard to play. But I think
that's a common theme in horror games, or in the dark mode. You mostly have your lamp with you, and but it doesn't. It's not working here. Yeah, that's a miss.
Is it in Thief Dark Psychosis where you cannot change the brightness?
The original engine, yeah, like the old Dark, whatever. Yeah, Gamma's broken.
I think this mission would work a lot more there, because this one would work a lot more if you actually had to use the light. Yeah. But you didn't, right? So, and when you didn't, it just went. It became easy.
Yeah, like most horror games, they don't care about lighting too much, so like the monster could usually just see you in the dark anyway. but like it doesn't work like that in Thief. Like Brethren said, you just hide in a dark corner and wait for the monster to walk away.
Yeah.
And like you just get on with continuing looking through the room for like a key or something. And this mission was kind of, yeah, like he said, it was a bit easy and just kind of routine in that sense, and it definitely didn't help it
Repetitive.
for me. Yeah.
It's a good word.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's a perfect word. But
Thank you. A 30 out of 30 word.
Alex
Yeah,
was-
I like the use of space of the word, especially. Yeah, I have to admit I'm a bit bored talking about that mission.
I was kind of thinking we should move on, but
let's move on.
Or Psychosis, you
podcast.
wanted to add something?
no. I just
Do you wanted to say like,
I
yeah,
just
I
feel
think this
bad.
mission was built in 11 days or something. I knew the author.
I like I said, Terra's made better missions, and I hope he will continue making
Doing
missions.
other missions.
Yeah, but this one is just like this one's just not for me, and apparently not for most people in here.
I mean,
and most people I know.
And
but
Random Teffer's rating of the mission, by the way, is 7. It's his lowest score.
yeah, I mean it is what it is,
He's
well, but
honest.
then again, we are.
By the
we
way,
are,
I told him that I read out his ratings. So for the listeners, he just joined our Discord chat when we were already recording, and then he realized, oh, you guys are recording. Sorry. So yeah,
I can't believe he did that.
yeah, who would do such a thing?
Crazy.
yeah, he didn't have time. We invited him, but he didn't have time. Otherwise, we would have had another guest. Cletremis couldn't make it, sadly. But yeah. But let's go on with the Cinder Notes. Mike, what is your rating on that?
All right. I've got of 25. I've got 8, 10, and 7.
my score would be 7 for space, 7 for design, and 8 for atmosphere.
I have a 787.
Oh, I'm gonna be the grumpy Grinch. I have 686 for 20 overall. So it's just
So Mike, what are your thoughts on the Cinder Notes? It's a daylight mission. One outstanding thing. So
Yeah, it's always a tricky one. To pull off a thief mission during the day, it's pretty tough.
it's pretty
but,
ballsy. Yeah.
As daytime missions go, this one's pretty good. I thought so. This mission's definitely more on the visual side than the gameplay side. I mean, if you just look around, there's like a screenshot every direction you turn, just about, which is awesome. But yeah, I did think the gameplay was a little simple, maybe. The environment kind of felt maybe a little sterile sometimes. Maybe that's because of the daytime. I don't know.
I agree. It is. It's why despite 6s in the other one, design and construction got 8. It is a beautiful mission, I think, in like some areas. I think it's very well built, very clean. The buildings are kind of cool looking. Like you said, you could look any direction and take a screenshot, and like you could use that for like a screenshot thread or something. You know?
Yeah. I think that Taffing About, the Twitter channel, can take several pictures out of that. For me, I know that maybe next, I don't know, Psychosis, I don't think so, but I think, Mike, you can relate maybe Tomb Raider 2, Venice. There was that level, where you played in, you call it Venice, right, guys? No,
Venice.
the Italian city.
Venice. Yeah, Venice.
Venice. We call it Venice. It reminded me totally. You start in that little sewer part or whatever, then you jump out of that window, and then you are right at the canal thing. And it reminded me totally of that, and it was such a beautiful place. And yes, as you said, it was built very clean, but still from the texturing and everything, and it looked very believable.
Yeah,
And yeah,
it's even cooler, at least, or more cool to me, because it gave me very. If you've played Ashen Age,
yeah.
it gave me very Ashen Age vibes. I'm pretty sure, actually, I haven't played Ashen Age Part 1 in a long time, but I think there's like a readable in that mission that like hints towards the Cinder Notes or something. So, you know,
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure this is a direct sequel. You know, like I said, I haven't played that mission in years, so I don't remember too much. But it's very same architecture, same like writing style.
It felt
Um,
familiar, right? From a
yeah, it's
very
very familiar. Like if this isn't part 2, it's at least like a spiritual successor to it. Which, by the way, if the author is, because it's anonymous, but if the author is the author of Ashen Age Slip Dip, and Mike knows, of course, but he won't tell us until the results come out.
maybe he can
Uh,
give us a slip tip.
uh, um, you know, if it is that author, welcome back, because that's like he hasn't made a mission since that, which is what, 2008, 2007, Ashen Age Part 1. So
14
it's
years.
been a while, which is pretty cool to see, someone coming back. But you know, eh, like I had to take some points from use of space, because next, I think you said this earlier. I forget what mission you were saying it in. When like you come out and you just know the direction you're gonna have to go,
Yeah.
and everything's kind of like funneled to like going towards the Hammerite seminary.
Yeah.
And then I was so I hope I'm not the only one that was so disappointed in the catacombs, because
Yeah,
it's like 4 rooms. No, like, you know me, I
Yeah,
love
oh
me
yeah.
my zombies and my haunts and everything. I know you guys don't, so maybe that's a plus for you.
For me
But
and Alex, it was like, oh,
but
good, it's just 4 rooms.
but yeah, like
yeah.
it's
Actually,
over before it really gets going. You finally make it to the catacombs, you're ready, and then it's just like one little spider bot is patrolling, and then that's it. And it's like 3 rooms.
even for me, it was disappointing because
Yeah,
yeah, you expected more because yeah, it looks really well or really nice. The atmosphere is great, and the feeling in that catacombs is also great. And then it's like really underwhelming because the way you enter, yeah, there are 2 ways to enter, I think. But the way I entered was like, oh yeah, there's something to come. Oh yeah, oh that's very interesting. And then it's like, uh-huh, that's already the door I couldn't open before, and I heard the spider bot, and nah, that's it. I have one way bigger problem with it. I think in the objective it says first you should go to the hotel and find information about the Cinder Notes. I didn't do
mhm.
that. I went straight to the Hammerites. What was it called?
Seminary. I think
Yeah,
that's what it
right.
was.
I
Yeah.
I feel I did. I picked up what I needed to pick up, and then I went to the hotel and read what I was looking for, and I already got it.
That can happen though. Just somebody decides they want to freelance like that. I mean, that's how do you get away from that?
Yeah, but you can limit this, like just with a simple thing that there's maybe a key in that hotel that you need to enter the Hammerites compound or whatever. So some whatever.
Yeah.
I
Seminary.
mean, it's a trade-off too. Then you start thinking about, well, is this mission too linear? I have to go here, then I have to go here, and oh,
Just
that'll be
needs
in
to
this
be a
order.
gate where you enter the area, and then you can play around where
No,
to enter the main
I get it,
building or what.
because you had to backtrack, and that's kind of annoying. But
No, the
it's
hotel was
like,
right near the start. That was not the problem. But yeah, it's like in I think it's like similar. No, it's not similar, but yeah, it could have been avoided very easily.
I'm guessing the author assumed you're there and you look and see the hotel right in front of you at the beginning and just go there.
Yeah,
You
but I'm
didn't-
a thief player, you know.
You didn't really have to search for it. It kind of was right in your face.
Obviously not.
Sorry, you're right.
No, it like to be fair, that hotel is not really a hotel. It's more like an inn or anything, really.
Yeah, maybe it was called. I think it was called.
And
an
there's no.
inn
I don't think
even.
there's a map in the game. If I'm like, there's no map for the mission, if I remember right. So it is, yeah, it's a bit, but like I said, I didn't like feeling, despite the fact that like it's not linear in that sense that you could have went to the end and then went back to the hotel. It still feels linear. It's still like you're getting funneled in one direction, and that's why I had to like bring it down a lot on like the use of space and stuff. And maybe it's also just me, but I felt like it was just too easy. The mission, like there wasn't a lot of guards, or if they were like kind of isolated from each other.
Yeah, even even that main that most important area, the catacombs, where like, there were always spaces you could wait for the robot that he walks by, then you go further, then you hide in a shadow there, then he walks by again.
Yeah, it's
Still,
it's an enjoyable
it
mission.
felt right. It was it. I think it has the same problem. Like there could have been more. It's too easy. It ends too early. There's like something. The mystery is missing. That would have made everything more interesting. It lacks. Or it doesn't fulfill its potential. Because it's
Yeah.
beautiful. It's crafted beautiful. I think the rooms look really nice and believable. Yes, they are, maybe especially at the Hammerite Seminary. It's not the most creative architecture, but it looks believable. I really, really liked it, and he must be European. Because
Well, if it's Slip Tip, I think he is, if I remember correctly. I don't remember what country he's from.
But the architecture, you could normally see, like, okay, this is maybe an American person, because you guys don't match the European architecture that well. And this is
Right.
this is European architecture, and yeah, normally you could see that.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
I'd have to disagree.
Brethren, am I right with my European thing? Maybe you can just give a hint there. I mean, the episode will be released anyways after the vote, so.
You can't trick me. That's not going to work.
That's not a trick. That was an honest question.
Just wait it out. You'll find out.
No, you are American. You don't know which countries are European.
I've got a map here. Come on.
Yeah, like. Yeah, I don't go on with that.
What did you guys rate this again? You guys were all lower than me, right?
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
yeah, mine was 686. Yeah.
Okay.
I had
Altogether, mine was 22.
787.
Okay. I mean, I kind of had to convert it too into like, my rating is 25, which is basically 8 out of 10. That sounded about right to me. I mean, it wasn't 9 out of 10, it wasn't 10, but it was about an 8. That seemed right.
Yeah, for me, it's like a high 7 or low 7-ish.
Yeah,
you
7.5.
You guys said before that the mission is too easy, very easy. I mean, my experience was quite different, right? And I would make an assumption here that the author is not a ghoster, and this mission really doesn't go well with that play style, because in that respect, it's quite hard. If you don't want to knock out anyone, it's very hard. And
I can imagine that.
Yeah, I felt like it was packed with guards, and even when in the hotel where you had to get into the room, I always hate those. And even Scarlet Cascabel made that. But whenever you have to enter a room where the person is not sleeping, and moreover, you have to lockpick the room, and In this one, the person in the room also patrols, and the room is fully illuminated, and it feels like, realistically, I shouldn't be able to get away with this. I mean, it seems like there should be another way to support other play styles, and I feel that the mission is very. I think its flaws are exaggerated in our eyes just because it does few things very, very well. It's definitely one of the better looking missions out there. I'm not a fan of Daylight, and I think Daylight is much harder to execute. In terms of visual.
Yeah.
This one it's amazing. Everything you look like, even the places where you're not supposed to go, they're just stunning to look at. But it has those flaws of player progression through the map. It's very. It seems forced sometimes, but if this is the same author as for Ashen Age was much more linear. It had the same too many guards problem. It was very hard for ghosters. This one was much more non-linear, not to a extraordinary degree, but it still is non-linear. But when you said earlier Psychosis, that you immediately know where the boundaries are.
Yeah.
May I stop you, because otherwise it would be hard to get into your one thing. From your ghosting, one thing I think that is a debate that happens a lot. Like, oh, this mission is not ghostable, or it wasn't designed with a ghost theme in mind. I don't know if that should always be the case. Yeah, it's your place up, and I can imagine how hard it is, especially in on the upper floors of the seminary. There are really straight lines to walk, and there are many guards.
Pretty narrow staircase areas too, and hallways. Yeah, I ghosted. And I had a hard time in parts of that.
It's very, very lit. And yeah, I can imagine that it's hard to ghost, but yeah, that I think that is a very special debate. Like, okay, should you design your mission with that in mind to make everyone happy with their own play style or not? Because I liked it. I thought it was very, very believable.
I think that's an important part. I think you should at least try, and I think the non-linearity definitely helps for ghosters, right? But I think it's very important that you try. I don't think that you should 100% try to satisfy everybody, because then you're just planning to fail. But I think there should be thought put into it. How will other play styles play through this? And it's not that there should be different paths for each of those play styles, but at least the critical points, right, should maybe be addressed. And when it comes to the size restrictions, where you immediately know when the limits are, I think this one suffers even more because it's also separated into these 4 blocks, and the division is clear as soon as you enter one of those areas. And it feels like, this is like, it's like a level within a level, but it's so very small that it never kind of gets. I mean, it gets to breathe, but just a little bit, right? And then you immediately know, okay, now in a way, in Alcazar, it's very hard to kind of map the mission in your head, and this one is the exact opposite. It seems too simple to map the whole thing in your head. But again, I think this is more exaggerated just because it has that visual potential that's just, I want to be in here.
But there are many vent systems you can access, and I don't know.
There's 1 or 2, yeah, for sure. Different directions you can go.
And I think they were spot on.
Yeah, they do definitely help sometimes. But I try to play a few missions, where I do a different play style, just so that I can, I don't know, get more into it, see how it would affect, creating the mission, so that I'm not a hypocrite, telling people you have to think about other play styles too, when then you do the exact opposite and think only of your own. And the mission feel, or I should say missions, feel so differently. This is exactly one where I tried to ghost it, and then in the end I turned to blackjacking. It's a very different experience where because as soon as you blackjack, one guard, you kind of open a certain area, and then you get rid of that problem. If you get rid of a few problems in this mission, by knocking out, you kind of open it up, and if you don't, you're just sort of, forcing yourself to do.
Just play it in the original intended playstyle. That's what I can always say.
But I would really love to see this author, make a mission where he's not restricted to size, because it's stunning. And if it was not, in this tunnel where you're just going through it.
That makes me like want to almost wish that the author isn't Slip Tip, and it's more of just a homage to his works, because I would be very disappointed if he wasted the long-awaited sequel to the Ashen Age on like a contest with pretty tight restrictions and stuff. And it's at least me personally.
It's the third time, I think, that we say, it's sad that there were the limitations.
Yeah, I mean,
just
like that's just going to be a given.
Later. Just a side note for later. Yeah. Well,
of course, if there's a good mission, anybody's going to want it to be bigger. I mean, that's just normal.
But
right?
No, but I think maybe in this case, it's a great author, but maybe the limitation isn't his thing,
So far, like the best contest mission, like specific contest in mind, is like Alcazar. If you think about it, so far,
far, but we didn't cover the
with regards
winner,
to the limitations and stuff, and
Yeah, but we didn't talk about the best mission of the contest so far. So, but yeah, for now it's Alcazar. I agree.
So, would you guys have rated this mission any different if it was a nighttime mission, or would it be pretty much the same?
I think there would have been more shadows. It's hard for me. I think the mission was designed with the daylight in mind. So, as I said, I think it was very interesting, especially the hallways and the building we just described in the ghosting theme. I don't know. That's hard to tell. I need to play it in nighttime.
It would have to probably be redesigned. Well, not like redesigned, but like
it was
the lighting
easy.
would have to be reworked to work with night, like a nighttime setting. I still probably would have liked it nighttime. Yeah, I just find them more thief-like. I don't really buy Garrett going out in the middle of the broad daylight to do his his dirty business personally.
Yeah, why would he, right?
I know he did it in Craig's Cleft and Thief 1, but he went into a cave system, so
of course
there wasn't gonna be sun there. But it to me, it's like, I mean, it's not like I'm not gonna take away points because it's daytime. Personally, like, I don't really care. But I do think nighttime is more, like, personally in my head, like what I would imagine Garrett would go out at, and
of course,
I think it would be a better setting.
It makes totally sense.
More times than not, yeah.
Especially that's why sometimes here in Europe, of course, we have like scenery that reflects the thief architecture. Like the mid-age theme. We still have that. And then sometimes I walk through like old gates, and then there's a shadow during the daylight, and I'm like, nobody could hide in there, you know. So that's the first thing that always is not very realistic and not very believable. On the other hand, of course, it creates very interesting visuals that you don't see very often. But I think that's I think that we all agree here, or at least our the podcast crew, we are not big fans of daylight missions. Because they are always very interesting to look at, but they create some disbelief, in my opinion. I think we had that discussion. I think it was not on the recording, but yeah, it looks great, and I really like the believable interiors. Yeah, maybe they are repetitive and not very interesting, but still. But in general, it's night. Garrett is. I am the night.
Right. Well, and if
That's
it's during the
what's the
daytime, you
atmosphere.
gotta give him a reason. Like maybe something has to be done before this set time, so he has to do it during the daytime.
Or he had a mission before, and of course he has to sleep. And then, oh no, the rent is due, and he quickly has to get out and grab some money. I would believe that, you know.
There was a mission too, I think, called Daytime Escape or Daylight Escape or something, where it's an escape mission during the day, and it made sense because
Yeah,
he had to, whatever time it was, he had to escape at that time, and it just happened to be daytime.
that's also always the thing when Garrett, when there's a transition from one mission to another, there's very often that theme that Garrett hides in a crate, you know, and that crate is always very empty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there's a vast space, like a hotel room almost. The crate is bigger than the rooms in Sabotage and Eastport apartments. And then he's going on a ship and he has everything inside, like the Malcolm in the Middle episode where the brother was going to China.
Little ship trips take months, and you're just gonna tell me he stood in that box the entire time with no food?
Yeah, and first of all, why do they carry those empty boxes in first place?
And then why would they have an empty shipping box,
Yeah, right. Yeah, but that's so many details. I think the mission was nice. Of course, many things don't make sense, and the gameplay wasn't so interesting, and there was with the objectives in order, blah blah blah. But it was a nice. It was a different thing, It was a nice, refreshing thing, especially when you play all the missions in one go, as I normally do. I appreciate those things. You guys want to add anything?
I'm good.
I think I covered everything I wanted to talk about. Yeah.
Next.
No, I think we said what we needed to.
So now we come to the mission. Oh no, wait! Did we say random Tethers rating? No, it was 22. So nice, Uncle again. And the next mission we already you already called the name Psychosis. It's the Perdurance, or that was a nice one. What are your ratings on that?
I gave it. Let me see here. Sorry. Okay, I gave it a best use of space 6 out of 10. Design and construction 8 out of 10, and then atmosphere story I gave it 9 out of 10 for a total 23 out of 30.
I also have a 23.
Okay.
I gave it space 6, design 7, and atmosphere 10.
Okay. What about you guys?
Mike?
I had a total of 23, just like you guys. 7, 8, 8.
Okay.
I guess I put it a little bit higher. I have it on 9, 8, and 9.
Wow.
Nice jump.
For me, it's a third place.
26, right?
26, yeah.
Still, we're pretty close on this one.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike, what are your thoughts about that mission? It's the other horror mission in the contest.
Yeah, well, it was definitely the better of the two horror missions, but we won't belabor that point. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty cool environment with the ship, and there's a lot of detail on the ship, which I think was really well constructed. Especially the part where it's all kind of trashed and destroyed. That's hard to do and make it look good, and I think he did a really good job with that. I wasn't too big a fan of some of those quick walking enemy things. I've seen those before. I'm not I don't know.
Scarecrows, I call them.
Scarecrows?
Yeah, they look like scarecrows.
It's like mummies or something. Yeah, something like that.
I don't know. Whenever in drama, when you speed up the character's walking speed, it just looks silly to me. That's just me.
Yeah. I also like this is. I'm just a little nitpicker like this, but I really did not like the little static sound that they make when they get close to you.
But can we start at the beginning? When you enter this mission, because we were talking about what is good horror and bad horror, and this mission is great horror. Like, it's not that, oh, I need a dark place and some creepy lighting and, oh, there is something and suddenly it disappears. No, you enter this thing and, you are on a ship. It's a mechanist ship. And it looks normal when you start the mission where it's your starting point. And then you enter you can't enter the door where you already get the thing. It might not be as great there. And then you have to go up, and I think you have to enter through the bridge of the ship, right?
Like where the steering is, yeah.
Yeah, the bridge. I think you call it the bridge in English as well. And then, you get through there, and then you get an idea. Like there's, all those dead people lying around in really cool poses. That's really well made, and all the destruction and the atmosphere, the sounds, and that's so amazing. It totally sucks you in. This was really, that's why I gave it an atmosphere story 10 out of 10. Because, this was one of the, I don't know, in the younger years, I would say, one of the best experiences in atmosphere I had so far. Maybe, it was, from Builder's Paradise, but, Builder's Paradise light feeling.
Oh, yeah. Like
within the limitations.
This is horror, like, done well. Like, this is, no jump scares, no real... Like, it slowly builds up, because you want to know, like, you're going through floor by floor, and you're putting the pieces together of, like, what happened on the ship, but you don't know. And then the sudden realization, like, of the enemies that we talked about earlier is a really great payoff. And like, I almost shit my pants the first time I saw them. Or when it caught me from behind and I hear, and then I just died because I got hit like 50 times.
I had
really?
the totally opposite experience because, the whole design of the mission, told me towards that. For example, then you are close to this elevator. I think it goes to the kitchen or something. And you could hear there are some monsters down there. And you're really like, oh, damn. No, I don't want to go into that elevator because it just drops me down in that area. I just want to look for a staircase where I can go slowly and control my movements and look around the corner. And then suddenly this straw figure, it looks, that's what it looks to me. Like, they were so disappointing. It totally kicked me out of the whole atmosphere that was built up.
For me, it caught me from behind, so I didn't see it. But
I was
hit or miss. I
shadow.
didn't mind it.
I was hiding in the shadow, and suddenly it came through a door, and I was like, "Oh, really? It's Scarecrow Lady."
Like I said, I didn't like the sort of TV static or radio static like sound they made. That's why I took a point off atmosphere. I thought it was a bit goofy.
The ending. Sorry.
But I think it's really well done, and like the little details like Brethren was or Mike was talking about with like there's like the ripped out cords in the wall, and then like the lights flickering on and off at like random intervals because they're like struggling to stay on. The bodies, like there's some bodies I think of the mechs that like got like torn in half or something, or like there's like half his body is like sticking in like a glass shard, or like it's like cut in half. It's a genuinely really scary mission, like on like its surface. For me the gameplay kind of lacked because there's only like 2 enemies, and I think it's a bit too symmetrical or like repeating in like the floors and stuff, but that's why it's not as high. I'm curious why Next rated it so high, or at least higher than us.
Uh,
But
well, it's I didn't at all find it like copy pasty-ish.
okay.
I don't know. I guess it just struck. I mean, I guess it just worked with me. There's a story I once heard about. How they found some ship, and they don't know what actually killed the man on board. They apparently some of them were found dead with with a pose of shock and fear on them. And it kind of intrigued me, like that little horror story. However, this mission at the end doesn't turn that way. The ending was a little bit disappointing for me because when you see those mummies, they felt more comical than scary once you saw them. And I don't know, maybe it was just the beginning that kind of got me, but like nothing was done. There was no severe mistakes. You could there we are. I didn't like that there were multiples of them. I would rather have one, maybe less visible and a little bit more slow. Something that
Like
scares.
the ghost we once talked about. Was it also done by Fire Mage? Yeah. That you couldn't see, where the lights turned off. That showed you where he is.
I don't.
You remember that?
No.
Any one of you guys remember that from one of the missions? I don't remember the name, but I think it was Fire Mage had his fingers in there. Where there's a catacomb and there are torches, and there's an enemy which is invisible, and every time the enemy passes a torch, the torch is unlit. And then there he is.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Something like that, I feel like would work a lot more. I don't remember it either, but something more scary like that. So it's like, and maybe this is probably nitpicking, but I guess this takes a lot of time and it's hard to execute. But I kind of missed the introduction to zombies. I mean, yeah, you could hear them a little bit on the lower floor, but no, it's. I felt like that part could be executed a little better, but just like the rest, I would say that the use of space, I didn't feel restricted. It felt natural. When it comes to design, I felt like most things were well executed. You could get to different places by not non-linear, and the story and the atmosphere, of course. I felt like from beginning to end, it was nice. I'd say that just that. Once you see it, it's not that scary. How you have like different. I don't know what the name is in English, but you have different type of horror movies. You have those where you see the zombies, and then you have movies like Blair Witch Project, where you don't see the enemy, but the scare factor is much more there.
That almost makes it worse when you can't see them.
Exactly.
Don't know what they are.
And if this mission had that part, and again, I was looking objectively at it. I'm not really a fan of scary missions. I mean, there are a couple, like A Better Tomorrow. I mean, you do see the enemies there, but it's like it kind of prepares you better. There are out there. So that's the introduction that I was missing with these enemies. I do like that you enter the mission, without knowing that something bad happens, and it does evolve. So the introduction should be done later on.
And that's a great plus, because as you know, I hate horror missions and supernatural stuff. But the way this was pulled off, like introducing me to everything and you making me curious about everything, I of course I didn't want to go down, but I wanted to go down. I wanted to figure out. And of course, it was disappointing what I found there. But, let's say like 75% of the mission design was great, but just the outcome of the enemy wasn't that good. That was a bit disappointing. But, still, there's someone who knows how to build up a great horror mission. Maybe without the limitation, the outcome would have been way better.
I think this is another mission where like the space actually fit it.
Yeah.
Like well,
maybe not the time.
And, like if it was bigger, like I don't really think it would make it better per se.
No, but the time maybe the time was a restriction here. You don't know what the private lives of the authors are.
Time, perhaps. Yeah. I guess.
Anyone with infinite amount of time would always make something better, But yeah.
But yeah, very, very, very nice mission.
Yeah, like another banger from Skaven, or how do you say it in with the Polish way? Skaven,
something like that. You're getting close.
I think you don't pronounce the J. He always tells me and I forget. But yeah.
Yeah, it's no problem. Psychosis.
Trying to think, which mission did he do in the last contest?
Where the Unknown Lurks.
That's right. Okay.
The mansion that had the deep dark secret underneath that I talked about earlier. Yeah.
Right.
That's the thing. Maybe that's his theme. He's great at building up things, but then at the end, it's a bit disappointing.
Not sure about that.
No, just with those two missions in comparison, like it's like the other one I really enjoyed at the beginning, and then it was a bit disappointing at the end.
Yeah, I mean,
one more thing about this mission. You both Psychosis and Alex, you spoke about the jump scares. I felt like, there's overdoing it where you're jumping all the time and it's just like I don't want like the Sixth Sense movie. It was always like it's just, are you trying to give me a heart attack or because it's hard to enjoy it at that point, right? But I felt like it lacked a little bit of jump scares. I mean, I wouldn't mind, just when you get near, just a little bit of machine, kind of, those fake jump scares when it's not the enemy coming after you, or just
I agree.
A little bit. Yeah, I think that would kind of increase it. But
where maybe suddenly, I don't know, a lantern drops, from yeah.
Just but we're really nitpicking here. That would make it a mission that's really up there, But I guess time restriction and all that. I'm sure because it definitely shows that this author knows what a horror mission should look like and is able to execute.
Yep.
Oh yeah. He's getting better and better every day. It's very impressive. Every mission is getting better. So I hope he keeps it up.
Yes, potential.
Because
very much.
The fact that this is a horror mission, filled with metal floors and basically in a metallic mechanical structure, it starts off bad for me, but I ended up loving it at the end. So I feel like, at least for me, that speaks.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So let's come to the happy end.
Happy end.
Your favorite, right?
Yeah, the best mission of the whole contest.
Best mission ever.
Best mission ever within the 1 million units contest. The Turning of the Leaves by our good friend Nicked. I loved it. You know,
What's your
I
score?
was. Oh yeah, of course. 10, 10, 10.
10, 10, 10. Psychosis.
Yeah, of course.
7 in best use of space, 7 in construction and design, and 9 in atmosphere story. So 23 out of 30.
Very close
Boom.
to mine. How about you, Mike?
I'm a touch higher. I got 27 total. I had a 999 on that. I did like
Oh.
this mission.
Okay, this one is going to be me and Psychosis camped together with you two on the opposite end. For me, it's 7, 7, 8, 22 in total.
So, let me at the beginning. Let me tell you, I was invited to the beta. I think you Psychosis as well, right? And
Yeah.
I started it, and I was like, "Oh God!" It was named Forest Mission. So,
Yeah,
so when I read the title, I was like, "Oh damn!" Because he asked me if I want to join. I was like, "Yeah, if the mission is not too big, blah blah blah." And yeah, I didn't know it was for the contest. So, yeah, it wasn't too big, but no, not a forest mission. I hate those. I don't want to play those. I didn't go far. So I was telling him like, and yeah, no, I was very busy at that time as well, and I was like, no, I don't want to, spend my time on something I don't like. And then in a beta, you have to replay and replay and replay it. So I skipped that, and then I played it when it was released finally, and I loved it. It's such an amazing mission. It's a forest mission. I think it's one of the few missions in a forest where it at least feels a bit like some forest area, within the engine. And it has so many great little places. I mean, the forest areas are just like lanes to bring you to the important parts of the mission. And it has so many great little things in it that I love it. And yeah, Nick, in my opinion, is one of the most creative authors that we have at the time. And yeah, I really love it.
Yeah, it's definitely like despite actually Next gave it lower, but despite giving it one of the lower scores here, for me the main thing I that minus points from it was the lack of verticality. Really, like I love being able to go up and down and climbing and rope arrowing, and this mission's very short. Like it's very flat in a way. And it's the worst part to me at least is the thieves hideout. It's
That's the
very
best part.
very flat, very like one-dimensional, very repetitive. I just didn't enjoy it as much as I really wanted to enjoy this mission, like a lot. Like even though I'm kind of saying I didn't enjoy it or whatever, I would say it's still like an 8 out of 10. But like for the contest, I didn't. I thought the lack of verticality was a detriment to it. I said earlier, or I might have said it sometime, maybe before we started recording, that the fake forest walls just kind of threw me off. I just don't like those ever when I see them. I know it's how you make a forest mission, but like it's just not. It sucks me right out when I see those, and
I agree.
Despite that, I still gave it a 9 story because rain, and it is a very like comfy, and like you said, like there's little areas that just like each have their own little story.
That's why you love
And
Endless Rain. Ah,
because it's endless.
yeah.
But like I think there's just a lot holding it back from being really like a phenomenal mission, whereas right now it's just like it's a pretty good. I would say yeah, play it and have fun, but it's not like I don't even think it cracked my top 3 according to my
But I
my
think that is the
rankings.
difference. That is the difference. I totally don't see it with those verticality and stuff like that. I see it with the creativity that is put into it. And yeah, but before we go into the details, Mike, uh, how do you like it or not?
Yeah, I mean, I like this mission a lot. I mean, I like vertical missions too. They're fun, of course. Who doesn't like rope arrowing? But it kind of seems like Nick decided right from the start he just wanted a big, long, flat mission just so you'd have long distances to travel, and I think that's fine too. So there's some pretty good exploration. Yeah, the forest thing is always weird in Drummond because it never looks great, but this is probably about as good as it could look, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's probably better. I think actually Solitaire had a
Godbreaker
forest
Mission
mission, which
2.
is
Yeah.
that's good. Solitaire had a forest part of one of his missions that looked pretty amazing. Got the name of that one, but anyway, that didn't bother me too much. I thought the exploring around was fun, and some of the there's some little side missions that are optional. That was kind of fun too. I like that part of it. Tell you what I didn't like is I didn't like flower picking.
I was gonna bring that up. Like
Yeah.
a lot of people complained about that, and I don't even think it's like mandatory.
But
No, but you don't know what they're doing.
But you also don't know that, so that is fair. But it's like maybe in hindsight, like yeah, like because you don't know it going into it, it could be annoying because you're like, oh, what are these? I have to get them all now. You know, maybe they're used for something later.
Yeah, and at one
They're kind of
point
in
I
your
was
face right from the start, and
Yeah.
it just makes you feel like you have to
Nick-
pick them.
Yeah, and Nick just loves he loves having like shopping lists like that.
I say the violent
Duncan
end of
Melvin.
Duncan Melvin.
Yeah, it's way worse. Don't get me wrong. Like when I say worse, I don't mean it like in a bad way. I just mean like there's a lot to get in that. Like if you want to 100% complete the mission or whatever. But you know, I think he just likes putting little things like that in his missions. So that's fine. You know, once I found out like they're optional, I didn't really care. I stopped picking them up like immediately. But yeah, like I said, it's just to me, it's just missing that punch, that like jolt of energy that would put this mission like from a solid high 7, low 8 to like a 9 or a 10. You know, it's missing that like that piece for me to put it over the top.
Sorry, was it verticality or?
Well, for me, it was the lack of verticality. I think again, it's too flat overall that it's kind of like I felt the Thieves area was really not fun to go through. Samey looking areas. It's just it's just very mundane. Especially because I played, funnily enough, his previous mission, Malcazar, right before this, or Malazar.
Yeah.
Alcazar is still on my mind. Malazar, and then compared to this, it's like one's like chock full of creativity, and then this one just kind of feels like maybe he phoned it in, but like also not. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know.
I mean, for me, just like you said, the verticality, it's kind of missing. Something's missing there. But then again, there's it's a different mission. You don't really expect a lot of verticality in the forest, especially where the potential verticality leads you down, which I wouldn't want. But there is some. There are the caves. There are one place where you go into the catacombs, and in certain places it really does the forest very well. The beginning especially was a little bit unexpected for me. You're already spotted. Usually I don't like those, but this one it gave it tension right away. Right, how am I going to get out of this? And then finding that little house right at the beginning, it was full of atmosphere. When it comes to flowers and stuff like that, I didn't, and I usually don't think that things are necessary to pick up. And being a World of Warcraft player, it felt like, oh, you want to take a little bit of that, and it kind of filled it. But I think I overheard you guys saying that you can create like potions out of that. So I was like, oh, maybe it's just going to be a little bit of an addition. Maybe I can create an invisibility potion. So that kind of didn't bother me, and I felt like it was executed very well. After a while, you do realize that it's going in a tunnel downwards, and it made it feel like Cinder Notes in that respect. But I was really enjoying it. It was going to be one of the top missions for me, despite those things. There was never like that I had to, pass pass a guy I didn't want, except for the beginning, But that's kind of if it's just the beginning and then I get this freedom and this, security, I'm fine with it. But then I came into that. I don't know if it's a mage area or a, I think it's a wizard area. There were 2 entrances that I found. None of it where one was where you can get through a hut and then you exit through the door, but it was, the guards were right in the places where I didn't want them to be. And again, it felt like the author does play a knockout style, so it wasn't really well suited for a ghosting style. But I guess the wizard area I could do. Then I came to the place where you think at first that it's haunted, and that was I thought that was brilliantly done, because I literally thought that it was haunted. Then you come in and it's a recorder playing, and they're all wearing masks, and it's an awesome.
This is my favorite part.
Yeah,
That was very creative. Yeah,
and we
talked.
We already talked about that in our last episode. I think it was no, the episode before, when we had Nick on. This was so cool. Such a memorable moment. Yeah, a lack potential with the mask you couldn't put on, but this is something I will remember in years. That moment.
Yeah.
That was
However,
done before in an older mission too. I don't know if that's where Nick got the inspiration from, but
yeah,
I think it was called "Flowers for a Friend." There's like a phonograph, same thing. It's like pumping out like haunt sounds to scare people away.
You're right. I do.
And it makes sense when the mission is named "Flowers for a Friend." Maybe he got some more inspiration out of that mission.
Oh yeah, never thought of that.
It did feel, but how wouldn't it be if it's a forest mission? You would definitely get inspired by the latest forest mission. I felt, it was inspired by the Godbreaker swamp mission. Maybe it was just the flower picking that got me to think that. Either way, going forward from that very nice moment with the Victrola playing, the whole charade that's going on. After that, that was one of those things where it's just, it can break a very beautiful mission, and the only way to get into the thief's compound is to get past
that guy.
That guy. Yeah, that was a big break for me.
I can see that, especially as a
would have helped.
ghoster. Yeah,
that thing just bumped it down a few places for sure. So that's why I think it's very important that you, because I mean, Alex is very critical as well, but he plays a different game play style, and for him it wasn't a problem.
But this area actually was even not so enjoyable with my playstyle, I have to admit. Just that one section, but it was, and I can totally imagine what a pain in the taff it is with the ghosting playstyle.
Yeah, it's a sort of area where you're like, should I try, and have a bad time, or should I just, break the immersion, knock the guy out, or get noticed, and then just pretend it didn't happen and just continue that. It's just, it takes you a lot of it. That's why I think it's very important for authors to whenever there's a linear moment that you think about all the play styles. If you have an open city, there, without trying, you're going to create different approaches to certain areas, and players can pick, and it's always fine. But whenever you have a single entrance somewhere, you really have to be careful about those. But I'm very critical right now. But I do love it. Again, it's one of those missions where I'm not a fan of forests usually, but this forest, he sold the forest to me, definitely.
I totally agree. One question to you guys: do you like the machine thing with the recipes?
I thought it was kind of. I thought the readable for it was definitely great. Where it's like it's definitely not necromancy.
Yeah, maybe we should explain the. Or yeah. There is that body that where the energy is going through for the machine, and then it says something like, "Yeah, it's not necromancy or whatever." That was really cool. But still, how are you feeling about? I don't know. In the thief mechanics, I found those machines so annoying.
Like you mean putting stuff in, pulling a
Yeah.
lever, and then like getting something. Like I feel like whenever an author or I mean, it was in the base game too, but like I feel like whenever people do it, it's kind of just like to flex it that they can do it. But like it's just
Yeah, because of
it seems
the
tedious.
inventory mechanics, how you handle them, and then you drop that in there,
Yeah.
and then you have
No,
to
yeah.
circle, especially with all those flowers you have.
You
I mean,
do get a
those
lot of
optional, but-
items by the end. No, I mean by then you
My-
probably picked up a ton of stuff without really thinking about it. But
Yeah.
They
It's
do
like,
respawn, right?
Mike, what you wanted to say something?
No, it's just about the machine stuff. I mean, in this case, it was optional, but we guess we didn't. We could have said with the flowers, we didn't really know that. But
Yeah.
And
there's,
and
I think,
I
there's a
think-
tendency for people to want to make crafting machines for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
like
and that's with the flower picking, that's the main issue I have with that, because I picked a lot of flowers, and then I was in front of that machine, and of course, still that I picked every flower I found, and still I was missing 2 of them, so I had to run around again to see those 2 I missed, maybe because they were just very rare, yeah. But still, I have to admit, I just gave it a 30 out of 30 because I wanted to have a balance between this and Alcazar, because I think this is the better mission in general. But yeah, for me, it was a 26 when I rated it honestly. But yeah, it's a 30 out of
Okay.
30. It's an amazing mission, best mission ever for this contest.
yeah, I mean it's it's definitely good. Like I said, but wish it just had a little bit more punch for me. But
I totally agree. Yeah, it has its flaws. And I can admit, now that we talked through all the missions, yes, Alcazar, from the gameplay, from the whole construction, is, from the crafting, the best mission that was made for in my opinion, as well.
yeah, it doesn't have to be the most fun. Yeah, like I would say like
No,
it's the
but
most like contest
the
mission.
craftsmanship behind that is really
Mhm.
outstanding. I can totally admit that and appreciate it for that. I'm convinced.
Nice.
I think this is the longest episode.
Almost 3 hours now or something. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I just want to make it quick. Because I have an issue with rating systems in general. Because they don't really reflect the individual games, missions, whatever you want to. If it's a game magazine that rates games, if it's a player that rates a mission, because first of all, it's always a very personal thing. And as you could see, like our ratings, at some moments I was very low, and on others I was very high in comparison to yours. And I don't know if especially detailed rating is really making sense. And like atmosphere and story, to put it in one thing, like, yes, of course, the atmosphere can be great, but the story can be ish. But of course, a story can add to the atmosphere. But do you guys think that the detailed rating is really making sense? Maybe if you just have the option to give like whatever points out of 30, maybe reflects more of your feelings, because then you don't, dissect it in too many things that maybe are not reflecting your actual feeling about the mission.
I would disagree with you. I think the way that the rating is done now kind of forces you to look at the thing more objectively. You know, to recognize the aspects that you would miss otherwise.
I can agree with that. Yeah.
I think this way of rating does allow for more experimentation, and I think that's a good part in contests. Otherwise, it would be we would see a lot more safe missions, as you say it. And I mean, it's hard for me to say it because I love those safe missions, the usual ones. I'm not into experimentations, but that kind of brings new levels and other aspects.
But isn't it at the end about the feeling of a mission? As I said, like, of course, from a technical point of view, Alcazar is, maybe arguably the best entrance in what it is for the contest. But on the other hand, like the turning of the leaves is, like, from the feeling, the better one for me. It was more fun.
You always have the option to rate it like that as well. You can just put in a number overall, but I feel like it tends to be more subjective. I think if you would just rate it 1 out of 30 with no criteria at all, it would be like a poll of what kind of mission people like. So,
yeah. And of course, in a contest, I can totally see it. That of course you need to have some criterias to compare those missions. But then
I agree with Nex. It makes you see a mission or look at a mission like more objectively, or like more. You actually scrutinize the mission a little bit more, right? Because a lot of like a lot of these missions that I gave like low on space, to be honest, I would probably still like rate them high overall. Like if it was out of 10, 8 out of 10 or 7 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. But like because of the category system, they actually plummeted because sometimes they just didn't do good in a category, and I had to be honest. I do wish there was more categories, not too many more. Maybe like gameplay or like gameplay / level design was one of its own, because I wasn't sure where to put that in. I kind of just threw it in with like use of space, but like I wasn't sure if that was really
gameplay is missing.
Yeah, gameplay, like how like the levels laid out, the patrols, the objectives.
When you look at
I would
Sabotage,
love for that to be on its own. Yeah,
because Sabotage in gameplay would have a great rating. Even if the whole design and that,
right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then like for me, like Perdurance would score lower on gameplay just because I don't think it's doing too much new in that regard, or
Agreed,
it's really. But and so like it actually ended up being higher on my list because gameplay wasn't really one of the categories. And like you said, splitting atmosphere and story, they're kind of similar, but like you said, like a mission can have great atmosphere, but then like a story, or like a great like story and premise, but then like you get into the mission and it's just like there's no like really good use of ambience. It's kind of like quiet all the time. It's whatever.
That was the King of Queens sound. Yeah, but I would love to hear Mike's opinion on that.
As the organizer,
I knew it was going to come to this.
I know. I told you.
I didn't. I got to be honest. I didn't put hardly any thought process at all into picking these categories. I think I just copied them from an old contest. So I don't know. Maybe I'd do it differently next time. Maybe we'd just do a round score. But I mean, everybody's so different. It's like some people love gameplay, some people love atmosphere, some people love design. So yeah, I was like Psychosis, where I had many missions where I rated on the 3 categories, and then when I got my final score, I'm like, well, that's too low. This isn't a 19 mission. This is like a 24 mission. So, I mean, it almost seems like it never works out, no matter how you score it.
Yeah, because like when you convert it like out of 30 in your head, like 24 out of 30 would be an 8. You're like, this mission should be an 8 out of 10, so somehow it has to equal 24 out of 30. But like what I did, it's like a 19, and it's like,
And when you look at one category, which is like, say, use of space, that's a third of the score, but maybe that's not really that important to everybody as far as enjoying the mission. So, I mean, it's tough to pick the perfect system.
Yeah. And I guess in the end, it does at least a little bit come down to interpretation. Because, you could say that. I mean, I looked at it the way that, I guess it doesn't include the feel of but I guess that's the subjective part. The progression of a player, that I do feel is design. So I kind of put it in the design.
Like, for me, like, specific categories probably are better for the fact that it's a contest and being weighted against the contest like restrictions. You should always look at the categories, but like, because if you just do it like rate a mission out of 10, a lot of people will rate missions that like they just liked, but like maybe either didn't deserve to, or well, I hate to say deserve, but like shouldn't have maybe won, because like Alcazar is like we said, like you didn't like the mission, but you could at least see that like it's really using the contest actually like very well, like the restrictions and everything, like it fits the mold to a T. And like if that didn't win, like I wouldn't feel comfortable personally, because I feel like it embraced this contest like perfectly. It's kind of like in Thief 1 when Scarlet Caspill won, and even though it's a great mission, V2 is phenomenal, by the way, if anyone hasn't played it yet. But the first version, I was like, and I was like, it feels more like Thief 2, and I don't really think that should be winning a Thief 1 contest, celebrating Thief 1,
But Into the Odd should be good in the Thief 2 contest, yeah?
It's very Thief 2. It's very Victorian, very, very mannery.
That's totally not Thief 2.
Eh,
No, it isn't.
I mean, it's a little bit debatable, I guess. Let's say that the beginning is definitely Thief 1.
The beginning of the Necromancer place is Thief 1, but like the Burgomaster's place, or the Market Master, I mean, and the other mansion above the necropolis is pure like Thief 2, at least to me.
Yeah, in your strange Into the Odd point of view.
It does have at least half. I mean, it's
it
not
uses all the Thief 2 textures. Like it you think it imports a lot of Thief 1 stuff, but it doesn't.
No, yeah.
You know what it is? It's because it actually has atmosphere, unlike Thief 2, and that's why. That's why you think it's Thief 1.
Actually, one little side note: we are looking for a new partner here on the podcast because Psychosis sadly is going on a journey, and
I'm going to get some milk from the convenience store.
Cigarettes.
I'll never be back.
No. Yeah. But yeah, you guys convinced me that a dissected rating in a contest at least makes sense. Yeah, I was so convinced so many times this episode. Actually, yeah, I am.
Yeah, like I said, like for the contest, like my ratings for the contest don't really reflect my ratings for the missions. Which is good because I feel like it's a contest. You should weigh the missions against the contest stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. What'd you say, Mike? Uh-oh.
So Mike there's a
roboting out.
Yeah, maybe that is the best sign for us to leave, to end the episode. But still, I of course I want to have Mike here for the end. But Mike, I hope you can hear us. If not, you can listen to the episode. It's just over 3 hours, so yeah, should be quickly done. Yeah, can we come to an end, guys?
I think we're good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I didn't expect it to be that long, but yeah, I never do. So yeah, thanks. Yeah, especially Mike. Thank you for joining us. Maybe Stephen Russell just joined and muted you again. Oh no,
Oh,
he's
there
back.
he is.
Is he back or not? I
Uh,
think I'm guessing he talks.
Discord shenanigans.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Mike, that we can't hear you now, and for the listeners as well. But yeah, thank you, Mike, for joining us and spending your time with us. Was interesting to have you here, and yeah, thank you guys as well, and thank you, Teffers, for listening. Yeah, that was a good one. I like those contest reviews. Yeah. More contests, please, Mike.
Are you guys
2
able to hear me now or
million
no?
units. Ah, no, there you are. Yeah.
Okay.
There he
What
is.
happened there?
I had the same issue earlier that suddenly my mic wasn't recognized by Discord. It's a diva.
Yeah, it happens to me sometimes as well.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Suddenly, then you have to reset the whole thing.
yeah. So as I said, Mike, thank you for joining us today and for the contest and everything.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.
I was going to ask a couple other questions at the end, but I guess not going to happen.
No. If there's, ask them, please.
I was just going to ask who you guys' guesses were on some of the anonymous entries.
Don't ask Psychosis.
I know all of them except Slip Tip.
Yeah, that's the only prediction I would be able to.
Yeah, the same here. I got some hints on one of the other entries, or two of the other entries, actually. Yeah, we have ideas, but yeah, we can say them now because they are
Get
revealed.
it on record. Yeah.
One thing that we forgot to do was maybe make a prediction on who we actually think.
I just thought the same. Yeah. Let's come to that. But, so
That was my next question, but yeah, go ahead.
Midsummer Night's Heist, Skekki.
I'm writing these down, by the way.
And then we get rated.
It's an interesting one.
I am thinking it's Skekki as well because of some interactions I've had with him.
Hints on Twitter.
There's some hints,
stuff,
and then the way he's very proactive in the thread and about the mission seems very usual of him.
He's not good at hiding in the shadows.
Yeah.
Well, I was sure it was Psychosis, but
no, Psychosis did all the rest. Psychosis.
There's no rain in that one, so that one couldn't have been me.
Oh yeah. You didn't have rain in your mission.
I had snow.
I
had snow and rain.
Yeah. So he had endless snow and endless rain. Yeah, but the predictions. I think this one is really hard. I think Alcazar will win. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Turning off the leaves should be pretty high, and Midsummer Night's Heist as well.
I think that's like a safe top 3, at least in my opinion, probably.
Yeah.
But the Perdurance, maybe,
I don't know. I think the horror missions are very divided, the community.
Yeah.
And just for that fact, it's not going to go. I would say that.
Yeah, but Perdurance is a horror mission that obviously also catches non-horror players.
Maybe Recipe has like an outside chance, like breaking the top 3.
I would say that I'm sure about Alcazar and Midsummer's Night Heist, and then it's hard to say the third one. I think it's between Recipe, Cinder Notes, and Turning.
Yeah.
Turning off the leaves is way up above. Yeah, but yeah, I can see its flaws that some people might have. Yeah.
I mean, I've checked some of the scoring on the voting page, where people do a spoiler little tag and then put their scores, and I found that Cinder Notes was higher than expected.
Yeah,
I think
but we had that with 10 Little Teffers as well, where we were like, it has a lot of response on the forums, and then it didn't happen.
Yeah, but this time it's not just response, it's actually placing it, in top 3.
Hmm.
But turning the leaves is also mentioned a lot there.
So my wish list would be, I have to admit, yeah, Alcazar deserves it. Then it would be Turning of the Leaves, and then Midsummer Night's Heist. That would be my wish.
Next, what were you talking about? Where you could see? You said you could see people's scores. Are you
On the
able to see
forums,
them?
where they
No,
tell.
not in the voting page, officer. It's in the I'm kidding a little bit. It's in the if you go under voting, where it says vote here, you can scroll down, and a lot of people show their scores. How they? Well, it's not a lot. It's a couple.
Okay.
The longer you talk, the more suspicious he gets. There's on the forums, people show their ratings.
No, they do.
Yeah.
But I love that.
Sometimes we call him hacks.
Just a second. Next. How can you see those?
Yeah.
You're a programmer, you'd say?
Psychosis, what is your prediction?
For like top 3, you mean? Or
Yeah, of course. No, top 9.
in order, it's gonna be I think Alcazar should win, but I would not be shocked if it came in second and Midsummer Night's Heist won.
Yeah, that would shock me.
I think Midsummer Night's Heist is like the perfect safe mission, and because of that, I wouldn't be completely whoa, if it won.
Yeah. One thing I forgot. The last missions from Random Teffer. His ratings.
Oh, of
I
course.
totally forgot the most important part of the episode. Turning of the Leaves was 24, the Perdurance was 24, and what did we miss? The
Cinder Notes.
Cinder Notes was 22. So interesting that he rates Turning of the Leaves and the Perdurance at the same. So yeah, might be close.
Why are we putting so much weight into his scores anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, he posted them in here.
He's
might
just
as well.
a random Teffer.
Just some guy.
Yeah, what did he do anyways? He doesn't know Dromad.
I'm interested about Brethren's predictions, if they're really prediction.
Oh.
No, they are not.
Yeah, it'd probably be pretty irresponsible to say anything, so I'm not going to.
All right.
What would be your wish list, Mike?
I've been following the voting page pretty closely, so I kind of know where things stand.
Mm-hmm.
But what would be your winner?
Oh, just
if you had to pick one. Yeah, if you had to pick one.
Or your top 3.
Or your top 3, yeah.
I did give Alcazar.
You don't have to
30,
repeat
so.
my words, Psychosis.
I want to know.
So your top 3, brethren.
So mine are Alcazar, pretty far ahead of everybody else, and then probably Nick's mission, and then Midsummer Night's Heist.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm sure that will be the top 3. I'm pretty sure.
I think this is something that you can tell us. Can we know what's the number of votes?
Oh yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm glad you brought that up actually, because I'm not sure. Not exactly. Not everybody voted for every mission, so I'm wondering if I should do an average or just a total, or I'm not clear on how I'm going to do that.
Huh.
You know what I mean? So I counted this morning, and one mission had 98 votes, another one had 118, so it was pretty different.
Yeah. Let's not make that too long here now.
I mean, we're you still recording?
Yes, of course. This is still the episode.
Done, right?
What do you expect?
Oh, so what do you guys think? Should an average, is that better? Average score per person?
Just tell us how many guys voted.
That's what I'm saying. It's different depending on the mission. It's different.
You can see how many votes there have been overall.
I mean, I think there could be a better way. If you do some sort of combination. Both,
I think average is fine.
That's the safest for sure. Least risky.
You're saying average score?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Doesn't really matter who wins, right?
Nah.
Brethren wins. So,
Narrative stuff.
I mean, we're actually the winners who got to play a lot of
Yeah.
great.
That's the
Aw.
point of it, right? Like I
let's
said, though,
finish this
wish we had more.
one up.
Wish we had more newbies, but I guess that'll have to wait till next time.
Yeah, make a 100 units contest, maybe then. Or not, I don't know. But I want to finish this now. I have to be this strict now.
Enough, guys.
I'm done.
Yeah. Vagabonds. So, I already made the introduction, then we again talked, which is great. Again, yeah, thank you, Mike. I already said everything, and it was a pleasure. And thanks for listening, Tefers. Thanks for being a part of this next and Psychosis. And yeah, let's see what the next episode will bring us. Maybe Mike starts a contest in the next weeks, and will be interesting. Yeah. Any bye-byes, brethren? Anyone you want to greet from the forums or anything?
No, not really. I like all my fellow Thief fans and TTLGers.
Oh yeah, and thanks to all the authors for the missions.
Yes.
Always great to get more missions, even small ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely
And I
looking
think
forward to next.
in this contest we had a lot of really good ones within the contest rules. Yeah, I think our ratings were pretty close in most cases. So, and since we decide, yeah, it was great. Thanks for listening. Bye.
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 Thank you all. Bye.
Well, this is my way out.